See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to keep you playing, but don't be scared. Destroy you when I'm forced down. If you ain't tuned into the down, with some Xbox babies, see me get it mixed up. Kid, I put them hours in to get prepared now. Play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'm a dozen I can tear down to the channel, keep your head down.
Yo, welcome back to The Fix. You're joining myself and my illustrious co-host, co-star, Daniel J. McGee.
What's up?
Glad for you guys to be here with us tonight. We're going to try to get through these topics briskly, if we can.
As always.
As always.
Brisk 2.5 hours.
A brisk 3 hours, possibly. we're gonna try to start getting ourselves in order as far as timing goes. So we're aiming for under 2 if possible, but 2 might be the thing tonight because we have a good amount of things to discuss.
True.
Most importantly, I do want to cover Stalker 2, get some impressions. Have you got a chance to get into Stalker 2 yet?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
I've seen a couple of the reviews for it, but that's about it.
Okay, cool. So I'll cover that as far as my impressions of it and the review scores, and I guess I'll play some gameplay while discuss it. But
yeah, I
got some thoughts on it. I have some thoughts. I'll say that.
Oh no.
Oh
no, that doesn't sound positive.
Yes, yeah. We'll get to it. And then, of course, we have the Game Awards nominees to discuss. And
I have some thoughts about that.
Yeah. Same here. I got some thoughts. I want to get you guys' thoughts in the chat as well. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you out there. I see you, Pyro Sarge. I see you, Red Wolf, my brother. What's up? Who else is out there? I see you, DJ. What's up, DJ? Spider Ring. What's up, brother? I know K is probably lurking because we're just talking. So shout out to everybody if you're lurking, whatever. Appreciate you for coming through. And for those who might come later, I want to get you guys' thoughts too in the chat. So definitely share your thoughts on as far as nominees when we get to that. What's this you say, Red? Stalker 2 is the best in every way. Please continue. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Donald Taku, what's up? He says, damn, Umbra, Infinite Umbra, another broken UE5 game that didn't turn out as good as the trailers made it look. Is this your king? See, this blasphemous talk can get you banned done, I should have brought him on because me and him had some contention of the Balatro being included in Game of the Year, and he was like, don't you dare judge that without having played it, which he's right. I haven't played it, so I can't judge it.
Yeah.
But then he started slandering UE5 in retaliation ever since. So I'm like, this is just wrong. But it's okay. I'll let it slide this time, done. I'll let it slide. I have I had a few discussions with people who have been playing it, and they enlightened me into how it's very innovative on it being a roguelike, but in card form. So that sounds intriguing, I will admit. So I do want to give it a go. Hell, I might buy it tonight and play it on the ROG Ally, maybe on the go. Maybe I'll do that. Just so I can say, I do want to have played everything that's nominated. Urge Tree, I have the DLC. I just never got to it yet. I know it's a great game. I'm pretty certain of that. I just have thoughts as far as its inclusion on this year's.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a great DLC.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll get to that too. And finally, of course, we have the Sony Katakawa /From Software situation. He says he dared us to say something nice about Stalker 2 and go. They let you stalk. You can stalk somebody. Yeah. They let you stalk brilliantly, Red Wolf.
It will survive longer than Concord.
and Redfall combined.
Yeah, probably.
So there you go. Yeah. It's not the typical type of game either, right? Like, I think that's part of the issue for people. It's like, I guess I'll save that till when we get to it, but it's not the typical first-person shooter experience, and I think that's what's throwing people off when they get to
probably.
it. You know what I mean? Yeah, done. Like, that was, I said this on the Infinite podcast some time back, where I said it looked downgraded, and it clearly is downgraded. It's like not even, there's no two ways about it. And mind you, I'm playing on a high-end PC, and I got it set to ultra. It is downgraded for sure. But the thing is, we have to take into account all the things going on over there with these guys. Like, if they deliver something like this, that's still ultra impressive. So it's kind of like, to me, I feel like you kind of have to grade it a bit on the curve, just a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, before we get into all of that, that will be that'll be the first major topic we get to. But I just want to get through the, definitely done. Definitely want to get through the news roundup first, and after we do a quick little, I guess housekeeping, and then we'll get to that. Yeah. So Danny, what have you been up to, man? What have you been playing, watching, etc., etc.? Did you check out Arcane yet?
Not yet. I need to. I really want to. But I was still finishing up Penguin for part of this week. So.
Oh yeah, I gotta. I haven't started on it yet. I have to get into.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
I've heard nothing but praise. Yeah, I've heard nothing but praise for it.
It's probably the best comic book TV show, like ever.
Ever, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what else would like be super into that. Would be like high in that category, Because there was a couple of good Marvel shows, like the Netflix ones, the Daredevil, early on. But then I feel like some of those later seasons kind of drag it down a little bit. So
I will agree with that. Like Daredevil season 1 and maybe 2 were really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Even Punisher, I think, was well received and decent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But then you start getting to like Defenders and on, and you're like,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. But no, the bulk of my week in terms of gameplay has been dedicated to slamming my head against Dragon Age Veilguard and trying desperately to get this game to end, because it just won't end.
Damn. So your experience, what would you say? Like, how many hours you put into it right now?
Well, it's hard to say. So my last save said like 60 something hours.
So you were into it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also did fall asleep with it playing at least once, so that might have bumped it up a little bit. But I'm in like the final mission, or I think I'm in the final mission, because this game has made it seem like I was going into the final mission like 4 times now.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
it's ridiculous.
Do you think maybe that's probably due to the narrative though? Because the narrative is a kind of in-game scenario, so it always feels like that.
Maybe, but it's like, at one point it tells you like you're going into the end game, make sure all your stuff's ready, and then after that you still like end up back at the lighthouse after like partway through, and it's like, why am I back here? like this just won't end.
Yeah.
Like there's so many times where they're like, we're gonna make there's at least 3 different times where the game is like, we're gonna make a final push against the evil elven gods, and then nope, sorry, we'll get them next time, and it's just like,
yeah,
why?
I definitely get that. Well, what section, what story beat are you on? That way I can kind of tell you.
I'm on the end. That's what I was doing right before I came down here.
Okay.
I'm like partway through the actual final mission now.
Okay.
So I'm at the part where you have to choose like, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that.
Yeah,
I just did
you're
that and
definitely
watched the cutscene, and that was pretty much it.
You're definitely at the end there. So like,
yeah,
you probably have like an hour or 2 ahead of you, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll finish it tonight, hopefully.
Yeah.
But so far I kind of think I might hate it. It's weird because I think that there's a really good game in there.
Yeah.
But it's like 20 hours longer than it should be. You know what I mean?
So for you then it's the pacing maybe that does
the pacing is terrible, because I think that also drags down so much else of it. Like, it drags down the combat because it gets so repetitive. It drags down the narrative because they have to like keep throwing a bunch of filler in there that doesn't work. Like the number of times that I'll get a quest from one of my companions, and it's like, oh, hey, meet me in the forest or whatever. And then I go out there and instead of saying start quest, it says start conversation. I'm like, bitch, I was just talking to you at the lighthouse.
Right.
Why are we here now?
Yeah.
And then oh my God, it's just like so much back and forth and so much just like nothing happening. It's so irritating. It's so irritating. And then at one point in the end, and this isn't a spoiler, I won't say who's involved in it. There's a choice that you have to make where no matter what, right? No matter how full your preparedness is, no matter how many of the loyalty missions you've done, no matter what level you are, no matter what choices you've made, there is a binary choice at one point in the ending where it's like, which of these two companions would you like to die?
Yep. It's true.
And that's horseshit.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah.
I have spent 60 hours in this game getting all of my factions up to 3-star or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, everything's good to go. What do you mean I can't win this game like the way that I want to? Like, and it's not even like a satisfying death. It's literally just like, oh, this person did something stupid that they didn't need to do, and now they're dead. Great, awesome.
It did feel kind of like I feel like though when it's such a situation, you kind of look. Red Wolf says a binary choice in Veilguard.
Okay. Oh my God, yeah. Also, speaking of that, because
Yeah.
like I finally got to the part in Tasha's story where she becomes they.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I finished their whole storyline. And like it's fine. I think I've sort of come around on a lot of the companions. I think they're just like fine. Like they're boring, all of them, but they're fine. Like I'm not mad at any of them.
I agree.
What is weird is that clip that was being shared around of like I'm gonna pull a barb and do 10 push-ups. That's the last cutscene in
It's the
their story.
last part. Yep.
That's the ending. That's where we end. Is this like super awkward note? And like everything leading up to that was fine. And then there's this one super awkward cutscene right at the end where it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I will say, like at the end, I end up liking Tosh, right? And
I think Tosh is fine.
Yeah. I just saw her basically being kind of this young, youthful kind of, character who's kind of fighting back against what she, like she's, I don't want to say confused, but she's figuring out who she is basically, and she has a mother to contend with, but
Yeah.
I felt that it was just a little forced how they told it. I wish they would have told it better. That was the problem I had with it. It was told like basically like, oh, here's the agenda, stuff it like in your face. I don't mind agendas because everybody got agendas.
Yeah,
and whatever
I don't even
they do.
necessarily think the problem is like, oh, there's an agenda here. I think the problem is that like they tell it in the most just like cookie cutter way possible. Like it's
agree.
the most just like
generic way to do it.
It's the like ABC straight through the story, and it's like, okay.
It's also
all right.
repeated. Like it's the only thing that's like that shouldn't be everything about the character, but it was kind of made to be everything.
Yeah, because it's that really is like Tasha's entire story is coming to terms with them being non-binary, and it's like that could be interesting, but there's just not a whole lot else to the character. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. They like fighting monsters, and that's kind of it. Like,
pretty much.
There's this secondary thing where like Tosh can breathe fire, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? What is that about this? And like that kind takes such a back burner to this other story, and it's like, well, I don't know, that might have been like kind of interesting. Like I might have liked to have known how it is that this random Kunari can breathe fire like a dragon. Like that's interesting, right? But the answer
she's
is just like
the power of they them. That's what allowed her to do it.
I don't know. Well, it's weird because the Kunari, like every Kunari that you have as a companion throughout the whole like series, is always like, this is the special one. Like Sten in the first game was a Kunari and he didn't have horns, and that was like a very strange thing because they didn't know what Kunari looked like yet. And then Iron Bull is like, oh, he's broken away from the Qun, and it's like this whole thing. And then
every time I hear that name, it cracks me up.
The Qun.
The Qun. It makes me think of two different things, and it's both hilarious.
I know what at least one of them is.
Yeah. One of them being South Park too. The Qun. Remember the Qun?
Yeah.
Did you see the special ending that Pyro was pointing out? He said it's a special ending. He says Daniel, didn't you hear about the true ending for Veilguard? He says,
well, I haven't gotten to the regular ending yet.
Well, hey, you might want this one. He says you press dashboard button, highlight the game file, then hit start to choose the uninstall option and roll credits.
Honestly, I wish I had done that like 15 hours ago, but it's too late now. It's too late for go on without me. It's too late.
Pyro said I'm going to be clipped out of context. I like Tosh. She's young. Dr.
Oh yeah,
Disrespect alert.
I don't know. Like, there's
No.
there's none of the companions that like bother me really. I think that they're all fine. The villains are very stupid. They're very just like they are cartoon villains. Like they don't do anything interesting or cool.
Largely.
They're just kind of like there.
I
Like,
did
cool,
like I did like Gillinan and
Gillinan and Elder Nun.
yeah, like I don't mind
Yeah.
them, but
I hate
they're
their
kind.
names.
Yeah,
for
their
one.
names are kind of hard to. Yeah, but it does feel elvish. I'll give them that. But it,
Yeah.
I like. How do I put this? I like them, but they weren't explored enough as outside of what you
they
read up
definitely
on
were
them,
not.
right? Yeah, because you read
Yeah.
up on them and you learn it, but you don't really see that, and it's like, why are you all just bent on doing this? I don't really get that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, but they didn't have a lot of depth outside of that part, I would say. What's up,
Yeah.
Doovie? I see you, brother. He says, shout out to. He said, what's up, hosts?
What's up?
But
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird place with it where like
Yeah.
I feel like if this game was significantly shorter, this could be easily like an 8 out of 10, like a pretty good game that I would enjoy and like recommend to people. But
Mhm.
because it's so long and just like drags everything through the dirt over that time, it's like
It
I don't
takes
know.
it down
Right
for
now,
you. Yeah.
right now I feel like I'm at like a 6.65. Like I'm not happy with it.
Damn. I was at a 7, I think 7, maybe 7.5.
Yeah.
Until the end game. The end game is what elevated it for me.
Well, I'll let you know if that does it for me. But so far, it
Yeah.
hasn't.
Let me know. Because it's basically like you kept hearing about the whole Mass Effect 2 comparison. And I was like, yeah, right.
So far, that comparison is not living up.
I felt it though. I will admit, to me, I did feel it, and I think it's because the rest of the game felt so much like an MCU movie / Dungeons and Dragons. That's what it felt like, and then you get to that, and it's like much more serious in tone, much more at stake. You feel it, and by the way, everybody can die. I just want you all to know that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if you make the wrong choices, everybody can die. So there
And
are
at
real
least
stakes.
one of them has to die.
One of them
because the
has
writing
to.
is bad.
Yeah, they get rid of themselves. Like, I'm out of here. But one of them has to die if you do everything right. That's the only one that does. But
Out of
everybody
curiosity-
can die, including you.
Out of curiosity, with the one that has to die,
Yeah.
and without spoilers, did you pick the guy or the girl to die?
The guy. Yeah.
Oh, I picked the girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the guy was like one of my main party members, so I was
see.
like, oh, I want him with me for this fight, and I didn't realize at the time that it was like, oh, and this other person's gonna go die.
You know what's crazy? Had I not, I gotta give a shout out to Lucius Augustus, because had he not told me ahead of time, don't send the person that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna go into details, but don't do this if that.
Don't send
or
the
else
one
you're not
actually
gonna
like.
right, or else you ain't gonna be
Yeah.
able to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, I won't do
Yeah.
that. He didn't give me full details. He just said,
Oh,
don't
were
do
you
that.
were you romancing her?
Yeah. So that's so he spared me for having gone through that. I would have been ticked. Had I did all that work and then it was like, oh, blue balls. I would have been upset. I'll be honest with you. So shout out to Lucius, because he spared me on that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
'cause I wouldn't have thought of
the
that.
romance that I got was pretty mediocre, so maybe that one was better.
Who did you just?
I did. I went for Nev.
Okay.
And I like Nev. I think she's the. I don't know.
She's the most kind of
best option.
grounded.
I think she's the
Yeah.
She's the one that I could most tolerate spending time with. So I was like, that'll work.
You could tolerate.
I
thought her and Lace Harding. I thought they were both fairly.
I like
grounded.
Harding.
Yeah.
Harding grew on me over time because I think at the beginning she really annoyed me.
Yeah.
And then her companion story was like, oh, okay, cool, interesting.
I thought Belara
Even
was
though, like,
way out of place. She felt like a
didn't
Disney
care for
character,
Belara.
right?
She's not great.
I didn't
don't know.
dislike her. She just felt like a Disney princess or something.
She grew on me over time, like most of them. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, okay, you can hang out, that's fine. Especially like with the stuff with her brother, like that was cool. But for the most part, I was just like, I'm never gonna use you like in my party, so you're kind of just hanging out.
You're just around, yeah.
Like,
What's up, Abdel, brother? What's up, Gray? Gray Monad in the house, our mod. He says, got to show my support even though I can't stay long. Appreciate you, but I know it's like 3 or 4. Even for Pyro, both of you guys being here, we appreciate it because it's like what 3 in the morning for you guys or something like that. 4. Pyro says, speaking of choosing a character to die, I saved Dale Walker in Gears 5 FJD. I couldn't do it, Pyro. I could not do that to Marcus. I couldn't do it.
Down,
I couldn't do it. I was like, nah, not after everything Marcus has done for me.
Yeah.
I can't have him going through this and everything he's been through. It's my brother right there. I can't have him losing his son that way. I couldn't do it. Yeah, so it's 2:25. Okay, in the morning for you. Yeah. It's interesting that our minutes line up, but the hours are just all jacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so for you, you're probably at a 6.5, maybe a 6 right now.
Yeah, I'm not happy with it at the moment.
Damn. So I know you see, we did have this talk before, and I know that you're much more of a stricter critic than me when it comes to these type. Like I'm more lenient.
I am, and I feel like it also there's an aspect of it where I feel like if this wasn't a Dragon Age game, I might hate it less.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that it does to like the lore and the world where I'm like, oh, that's just. Did you play the previous ones?
I've never played any of them, so this is new to me to so like you felt like they kind of dishonored past games in your opinion?
A little bit, yeah. There's parts of the lore that they just fully get wrong. And then like specifically stuff with Solus, I'm like, that's not who this character is at all.
Oh wow.
Like this is like it feels like the new writers just read like, oh, God of Lies, guess he's Loki, and just like moved on
they
with
definitely
their life.
they definitely
just, like,
made him
checked that box, and
Loki-ish.
they're like, that's who his character is now.
That's basically what they did because he's definitely felt like a Loki representative for sure. What's up, yo, Donnie? Yeah, definitely did feel like that. I don't know enough about him, man. Like I didn't play the other games, so I don't know. I guess that's probably why I had more favor overall because I don't know anything. Like I just, I only experienced them. Everyone here. Emmerich, by the way, I thought was pretty. He reminded me of Vincent Price.
Emmerich.
The necromancer.
I have largely just ignored Emmerich. Like he's fine, I guess. I don't know. His story went a weird direction that I was like, oh, okay.
At the end of it definitely did. I was like, what? That came out of nowhere.
Without spoilers, what did you choose for him? Did you choose? Did you choose save the skeleton?
Yeah,
or no?
Bring him, save him because he seemed like he was attached. Plus, I didn't like the whole aspect of you just being this dead wraith or whatever that you ascend to at the end. Like,
I was absolutely down with that. I was like, oh, that's way more interesting than anything else happening. In
Damn, you let him.
I was like, well, oh, I'm sorry, your entire life's work in exchange for the life of your dog? Nah, that's fine.
Well, it was a dog that had sentience and understanding.
I don't know.
And saved the day at a point. Right? So I felt like, yeah, let's pay him back.
I'm also like not even sure. I mean, this is kind of spoilers. I'm not even sure if it's really dead because it wasn't alive. It was a spirit inhabiting a thing. So like, if the body dies, wouldn't the wisp just like fuck off somewhere? Like I don't know.
I don't know. I guess maybe since it was inhabiting a shell or so, it would just probably go into some afterlife situation. I don't know. I don't know because they had to bring it from somewhere too. It wasn't just. Also,
I felt like the choice there was like so forced, where they're like, "Wow, you can't do that because if you do, then fuck you." And it's like, why? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, they try to make it like, oh well, it's basically you lording over life and death, and yeah.
But like
this right here, AJ. What's up, AJH?
Isn't that the whole point, kind of? Isn't that what we're doing here?
AJ, this is no rest for the wicked. What's up, Palpatine? This is no rest for the wicked, which I loved, by the way. I'm waiting. I could have kept playing it. They have the Crucible that you can do. It's on Steam. This is made by Moon Studios, for those that don't know. This is their action-adventure, somewhat Souls-like-esque game, as you can see. It is very Souls-like in some ways. Very tough. Very rewarding, though, once you really start getting the combat down pat. Also, like some of the times you'll see me getting hit, it's because I'm in Russian. I'm like, let me just hurry up and kill this person. But once you really get the combat down, oh man, it feels so good, especially when you deflect their weapon or whatever away and you take them out and you use your specials and such. Anyway, that said, yeah, this is dope. I'm waiting for them to get to the final game before I just really invest, because it's like I don't want to keep waiting for updates in this like game preview situation. I'm not doing all of that. But yeah. What is it? What's this? Pyro says he killed JD because of the actions in Gears 5. Dale stood by Kate the whole time. He lived up to Delta's ethics. JD put orders before his squad and the opposite of his father.
You just didn't like that he got bald.
Yeah,
Get
you bald bastards.
cue
You
ball
gotta
outta
go. Right. Yeah. Yeah, AJ, you'll like it, man. I think you'll like it. You had it in your wish list for ages. Yeah, you'll like it. I don't want the early access is the thing for me too. Like I don't want to. I played about a good 50 hours or more of it, AJH, but like beyond that, I didn't want to keep investing if it's going to be a matter of it not counting more until it gets out of early access. It's like, to me, that's a waste of time. So I just decided to wait. I hope we didn't have any issues. I heard a bell go off. You still there, Danny?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because this thing.
I feel like I kind of heard it in the background too. It sounded like unplugged and replugged.
That's what it sounded like. I'm like, don't you do this to me, OBS. Anyway, let's get out of here and get to the news roundup so we can get through these things because we're a little behind, I suppose. But yeah, the news roundup.
Hey, have you seen that Avowed gameplay that's been going around?
I have.
That's part number 1. I think it looks really good.
It looks really good.
The all the previews coming out of the people having played with it are like, this is what I wanted it to be. This is very good, which is positive because I feel like a lot of the build up to it has been like, oh, I don't know, like it doesn't look that great, like blah blah blah. And now people are finally getting hands on with it, and they're like, no, you know what? I actually like this. Is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah,
So,
I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm very pleasantly surprised because part of my worry was that they weren't going to nail the third person aspects well.
Yeah. And
at least from what they showed. And then you watch people like Colt's gameplay footage and it's like, okay, this looks good. Like this is the thing that frustrates me. And I was just talking to a few guys about this before the show. It's like, how do you as a studio, and I guess just because you make great games doesn't necessarily mean you're going to present it well, I guess.
Sure.
But you have a whole marketing arm, you have Microsoft there. Present this game in its best light. Like, don't just half-ass present it. And it shouldn't be up to content creators to present your game for you in the best light. Colt presented the game so well. If you all have not watched Colt's video, Colt Eastwood, if you all haven't watched his video of his 8 hours that he put into the game, you are missing out because it really puts Avowed in a great light. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm like, how do you manage to make this look so good and they couldn't do that?
There's definitely an aspect of that where it's like, why did you not? Like, this game, by all accounts, is very good and it's fun to play and looks good even. So it is weird to me because I don't necessarily think they did a bad job showing it, but like clearly they didn't do as good a job as they could have. I don't know. I do feel like some of the like hate towards it at the beginning was like kind of manufactured and kind of like, I don't know,
exacerbated,
just like console war stuff. Yeah, where they're like, oh, it looks too colorful. It looks, it's like, bro, chill out.
I thought the colorful comments was a little too much too. I'm like, really? That's your complaint?
But they never showed it. Like, whenever they showed the gameplay of it, it looked pretty stiff and like kind of clunky. But all this gameplay that we're seeing, like long form, like, you know, minutes upon minutes of gameplay clips that I've been seeing, unbroken. It's like, oh no, this is good. This looks like a good one of these. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for this. Yep. I'm more excited for it now than I was in the lead up to it. And I had, I think, probably maybe a little bit more faith in it just because I love Obsidian. They're one of my favorite studios. I have a lot of faith in their ability to make a good game.
Sure. Oh yeah, same. I will agree. Yeah, I agree with
that. Like, I'll admit, like, going into this game, the way that they showed it off, I was like, yeah, it'll probably be fine. But now I'm back on board of like, hell yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, for sure. I will say this too. Pyro, just to comment on that really quick. I felt the same way on the Moon Studio situation because that Venture Beat thing was like, whoa, that's what was going on with Moon. So, but what's his name? I forgot the guy's name right now. Thomas something. He came out and gave a full, like, long threaded explanation as to the things that went wrong there. and cleared up a lot of those thoughts. If I can find it, I'll link you to it. You may have seen it. Mailer. I'm not sure how you say it. Mailer, maybe. Thomas Mailer. Or Thomas, maybe. I don't know how Thomas. But he kind of, what's up, Sycamore? He gave a kind of a detailed explanation of things behind the scenes to kind of clear their name.
So I didn't see that. I don't know.
I'll share it to you too if I can find it. Yeah,
I'd like that.
He was responding to, I think, that lady Alyssa Mercanti, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody. He was responding to someone about it, and I read it, and he gave a full, like, long explanation to dispel a lot of those rumors. So I'm on the fence because I don't know if we know the whole story, honestly. But that did make me feel a way too back then. I will admit, Pyro. I'm not sure how it, the whole situation on it, but yeah. But that said, for the Val though, it looks really colorful. It looks really, like, really sharp. I will say, like, Code even commented on it that he in first person mode, it feels at times like he kind of skipping along. Like, they got to get the feel of movement down pat. I would hope for them to get that down better. But everything else he was showing, man, I was all on board. It looks really good, and I'm glad they have extra time to, not only pad it out with other things, but to get fixes and get bugs out of the way or to polish it better. So,
yeah. Well, because they've really stood by their reason for the delay being, basically just to give it a bigger window to launch in, as opposed to competing with their own games at the end of the year here. So that to me says that a lot of this extra time is going to be used not to, like, make the game playable, but to make it better. And that's reassuring. Maybe that's why it looks so good now, because it's like, maybe this is around the time, I guess, that it would have been launching had they not made that decision.
100%. All the extra time. That's why, like, it is coming out in a bad window, AJH. But hey, it is what it is. I think we just have an abundance of great games. It might get pushed back further. You never know what they might do, but
maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it is coming out at a better time now than it was originally. Because if it had come out, like, end of October when everything was coming out, like Metaphor and all that, like, that's more direct competition. Whereas now it's coming out next to what, like Assassin's Creed?
I think it's a tough release schedule no matter which way, but I do agree.
Yeah, you got to put it out near the beginning. You can't put it out anywhere near Grand Theft Auto.
Agree. Yeah, you got to put it out early. You can't push it. March might be the thing. I was thinking that March, I know, is kind of light for now as far as we know. I think April might be a little light too. But you definitely don't, like, they were trapped one way or another if they did that, because, like you just said, Metaphor, all these other games coming out.
Yeah,
they were
and then you also have to take into account, like, Avowed is not their only game coming out next year, right? So they have to make room for all of these other games that they're putting out, including a Call of Duty,
including and partnership games, stuff like that. So
and keep away from Grand Theft Auto. Like, it's a tricky situation. Like, they've got a lot of good-looking stuff coming out in the next couple of years. They got to make sure that they release in windows that they can work on.
Yeah,
and some of those might be a little bit more competitive.
You don't want to pull a Titanfall. Yeah, you don't want to pull a Titanfall like EA did and mesh them up against, two monsters on either side. But
or at least not against things that are, like, direct competition for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Pyro said he says he's seen it. It reminds him of a long-winded YouTuber apology video after being called sexy minors. Too little, too late. He says I'm a lynching joke, but being said. Yeah, what he says? I'm a lynching joke being said to you, but I get it. Yeah, I get you, brother. I thought that the calmness of how he explained it in detail and everything like that, it didn't feel like he was, like, making excuses, and so much time had passed. He didn't have to say anything, but he did. He chose to, like, clear up any misconceptions. And he did it in a really calm tone too. I thought it was really respectful. So I don't know.
That's definitely better than some apology videos I've seen.
Yeah.
Like my lawyers told me I couldn't say anything, but they didn't say I couldn't sing.
Right.
That's got to be absolutely the worst one of all time.
Like, he could be full of it, Pyro, to your point. Like, he could be, but maybe he's not. Right? I don't know. I just don't know, man. I'll say, like, we stopped hearing talk of that. It doesn't mean anything just stopped, though. It don't mean that things didn't happen. And maybe it was rehearsed, right? That's possible, to your point, Pyro. I just don't know. And since I don't know, I won't jump off the deep end like, yeah, he did it. Let's get rid of him. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's all I'd say to it. What's up, Kay?
that's fair.
Yeah, but no, Avowed looks really damn good, man. I'm highly impressed with what creators like Cult could put out there for us. I really hope that they like Microsoft like get behind your teams and put the stuff out properly.
I think we'll see it again before it comes out. Obviously, like because they're gonna have that January direct that they always do.
Yeah, that's true.
I would be very surprised if Avowed wasn't the one that has like its own standalone direct at the end. I think that would make a lot of sense.
That's a good
Unless
point.
It's, I don't know, maybe if like there's rumors that Fable might be next year, so like maybe it'd be Fable, but I don't know what else outside of that it would be.
I don't think
it's like
Fable's
Doom
launching
doesn't
next year.
need one. Like we know what Doom is.
Yeah, Doom doesn't need it. I don't think Fable. I'm telling you, I don't think Fable's launching next year. I know that's what they said.
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
I don't
think
believe
that
it
either.
Yeah. Especially like you said, with us counting in Grand Theft Auto, like they'd have to worry about this. Not going to launch early in the year, so that means later in the year is Grand Theft Auto territory.
Well, and that's another reason why, cause we didn't talk about this however many weeks ago. Whenever PlayStation was like, "Oh, and we're making Ghost of Yotei, and it's coming out in the fall of 2025." That bitch ain't coming out.
Yeah, right.
There's
That's not
no
happening.
shot, because that's when if Grand Theft Auto is going to launch in fall, you're not putting out anything, especially not your one big first party game. You're not putting it out in fall, and they're not moving it forward.
Right.
I really don't think that that's coming out until 2026.
It's possible. It's possible. You never know. I think if it does, it'll just be earlier in the year. It won't be. It'll probably be in the March, April area too. Maybe June.
I don't think I'll be ready for that. I
mean,
all they've shown for us so far is like a cinematic, and they announced who the voice actor was. Like, honestly, even without Grand Theft Auto coming out at the end of next year, there's a chance that they just said that it was coming out, because we heard that from a shareholders meeting. Like, there's a chance that they said that just to keep their shareholders from like jumping ship and selling all their stock to Apple or something. Right. Like,
oh, we got a game. We got a game. Don't do it. Don't sell off anything.
We got a game. Don't worry. Yeah. It's gonna sell more than Astro Bot, you're sure.
Yeah. Yeah, HH says December has 3 great games launching: Path of Exiles, which I'm excited for, by the way. It looks really good. Indie and Marvel Rivals. I've never played Marvel Rivals. It's not my type of game, but I do love those cutscenes, man. It makes me want to get into the game. I'll tell you that. Like, I've seen the cutscenes of the new characters every time they're being introduced, and it's like, man, it looks good. It's just not my type of game, though. But maybe I need to expand. Maybe I need to expand.
Maybe if it's, because I think it's free to play, right? I think I might jump in on it for a couple games. I don't see myself sticking to it because, like you, it's not a game type that I care about. But I'll probably give it a shot, because I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about it.
That's true, and it always helps to have some knowledge of it that we're talking on things.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to jump on a podcast and be like, I don't know, it looks stupid, but then like never touched it. You know? What I mean?
Exactly.
That's always a tricky situation to be in.
Yeah. What else did we have as far as game discussions?
Starfield hit 15 million players.
Nice.
So I'm sure that it was already planned, but they're throwing it into the same announcement. They're also launching a new vehicle that's like it's a land vehicle that's more fast, able to maneuver better, apparently. So I forgot what the name. It was like the Deimos or something. I don't remember. I should have written it down, but I didn't.
Is that from them, or is that from the creators? I thought that was one of the creator.
It could have been. Are you thinking of like the pod thing that kind of flies? Because it's not that.
No, it was the one that
was in the creators.
I did see that. That was hilarious, by the way. But no, it was the one that with the it was the basic 4-wheeler type one. Maybe it was theirs. I don't know. But these creators are so good that they look like something that Obsidian, not Obsidian.
There's some
Bethesda would have done.
There's some really good. Well, and that's the thing. So I don't know if anyone knows this, because I went into the because when you download the DLC Shattered Space, like you kind of go into the creation menu to pick it.
Yeah.
And I was seeing some other stuff in there that is made by Bethesda. Like there's some small free DLCs basically that have just been thrown in there, and a couple of ones that you pay for, but a lot of them are just like free armor packs and stuff that they've thrown in there. So I downloaded a bunch of those too.
Yeah.
That creation kit has some, or whatever the hell creations.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's good stuff in there. There's a couple of
good stuff. Yeah.
I just saw Greg Miller talking about a quest that came out of that's called The Veil. That's apparently really good.
Oh yeah, they got that zombie like one. I need to play that still. Yeah. That and
a bunch of stuff.
They got different gun mods. Like, camo and stuff and skins you could put on the weapons and yeah.
So Starfield is continuing to be a really big success. Shocker, who'd have thought that the Bethesda game would have a continued legacy and mods and support and everything that would keep it not only being played but have it continue to grow further and further on into its lifestyle. Or life cycle. The funniest thing, so because we have a little behind the scenes here, I guess. We just have a chat on Twitter where people throw the news stories at us. And the one that they threw in there for this story was from Insider Gaming. And that article, if you actually read it, is shitty. Like, they're trying to downplay it really hard.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're like, they literally, I think their last paragraph is like, so it's clear that Starfield is not the continued sustainable success that Bethesda needed it to be. And it's like,
wow.
what the hell are you talking about? Like, their player numbers are up from, because their argument was, it didn't get as many new players in its second year than it got in its first year. And I'm like, are you fucking stupid?
Expect that, right? You expect the numbers to grow higher for that?
What do you think this is? Like, those are 2 million new unique players over the last year. Like, that's more new players than Astro Bot got in its entire existence. Like, what are, and that's a game that's nominated for Game of the Year. So quite frankly, eat my balls.
Mind you, it's an 83 rated game, and Black Myth is an 81 rated game, and it's also up for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know. Ridiculous.
Abdel says, shout out to all the Hooved hooligans. Shout out to our Hooved hooligans. Yeah.
Just like reaching for anything negative to say about Starfield. Like, I get it, bro. You didn't like it. Move on.
Yeah, I don't understand the hate. For a start, like, Starfield definitely did some things I didn't like, or at least I would have wanted them to do more.
Yeah, it was far from perfect, for sure.
Yeah, but it's not a bad game. You would think the way they talk about it, the game was just trash. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Very
absolutely
weird.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, I didn't fully read that article. I kind of just saw the headline. I was like, okay, cool, nice.
Yeah, I mean, the headline really is the whole story in this case. Like, honestly, I regret giving them the click of having read it.
Yeah.
So
you're like, you're gonna get this negativity.
It was like, thanks, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
That's what my life was missing in the last couple of weeks, was more negativity.
Right.
In other news, xCloud is starting to roll out the thing where you can stream the games that you've played instead of just the ones that are on Game Pass, which is pretty neat.
Yes.
There's a whole list of 50 titles. I'm not going to list all of them, but you can find that information on your own. This is only the start that they've said. They're going to continue to support more and more games with this. So, hey, this was a promise that they made a while ago, and they're making good on it.
Now, this I like a lot. It plays into the whole thing. I know that ruling that was announced that Sarah Bond had spoke on. She was like, you could see that they've been waiting on this, and this had been playing for a long time. I think it's back as early as 2012 or something like that, or something around that. No, 2000, and it's been a while. I can't remember the year, but this has been in the plans for them for a long time, and it's now finally kind of hitting that point where they can do this. And I know they're launching with 50 starting out, and they're going to expand from there. But this is dope. And now, so people would probably be like, well, I can already stream games just by playing on the device and launching my console from the device, which is dope, by the way, because I do it often.
Yeah.
But this is slightly different, right? Like, this is slightly different.
It's a more direct sort of pathway to do it, and it makes your streaming device like its own unique thing instead of having to be like strictly tied to the console in that way. So it honestly, it adds just a lot more value to whatever. Undoubtedly that this is a thing that they're adding for that handheld that they're making, which honestly, I don't know if we talked about this. I don't know if that's still a good idea. Like, there's so many handhelds now, and most of them are failing. Like, some of them are doing well, but most of them are not. And it's like, I don't know that necessarily Xbox is going to be the one that breaks that mold. It certainly won't be PlayStation, because their hardware just does not get supported at all. And they're apparently also trying to make a handheld, but I don't know. We'll see. It's a crowded marketplace, and I get nervous about that, but we'll see.
Yep. And Pyro, I get you. That's where I was going to with this. But because Pyro sent me a few DMs, and he was speaking on his thoughts on it. And Pyro, sometimes we overlook like everybody's situation. Not everybody's in the same financial situation. And
yeah, for sure.
Hell, the state of things in the world nowadays, some of us might be in some dire situations. But he was speaking to the xCloud situation, and he says that the first batch of own titles being available via xCloud, his experience last year in the height of the cost of living crisis, he couldn't afford to run a Series S and LCD TV. He says he wouldn't have gamed at all if not for cloud, and he having access to his own library ever since. He says out of the 3 billion games or gamers rather worldwide, well under 500 million are on console. Sure, mobile casuals take up a lot, but there are so many that would never buy a console, and most of Gen Alpha aren't interested in consoles. He says he loves his series console, but he's not blind to Logic smart TVs, Android mobile devices, and Fire Sticks, and is a fertile land for growth, not a replacement for a console, but in addition to it. So I agree with all of that, Pyro, for sure. And this is a way for them to continue to go, and I think that's what they see. Like this is why this is important to them. They're trying to go beyond just the console reach. That much is very obvious. That's why the whole "this is an Xbox" thing was done. Like, I think it was probably not done exceptionally well in some cases, and I think the reason why it wasn't done well yet is because they could not connect that to the vision of us playing all of our library. That's the problem. Like, if you say, hey, this tablet is an Xbox, but I can't access all of my games, then it's not an Xbox, essentially, right? It's a streaming device that can play some of the games. That was the problem for me, but this right here addresses that, and that's why this is important, because now we can actually access our games through this. Now they probably can evolve that even more going forward, but like, this is important because of that, because now I don't have to worry about my games being left back on that platform if I want to, eventually play on a higher end what's up, Inferno, on a higher end PC and access my games. I can do that. If I want to play on my ROG Ally, I can access my games through this. I can do that. That's why that's important. So that this is right here. It seems kind of minuscule at times,
sure.
but it's major in its own way.
Yeah, well, and Phil Spencer said something kind of to the same effect, where he was like, we're not, and maybe it was a little bit of a dig at PlayStation, which I'm all for, frankly, where he was like, we're not going to grow the games industry with $1,000 consoles. Like, we're not going to grow the space like that. Because it's just not the reality of the world right now. Like, no, like $1,000 consoles is just not happening. That's not a thing that people are going to be like jumping over themselves to get to.
True. I do wonder though, what do you think the pricing might be for next gen? What's up, Flood?
For their next console?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I think we're still looking at that, like, for Xbox at least. I think we're still looking at that like $600 range.
You think so, huh?
I really do. Yeah. Well, unless, I mean, there's the question about, the political side of it, where it's like, oh, if these tariffs actually go through, then like literally everything made overseas is going to cost significantly more. It's going to cost 20+% more, because that cost gets put on us, not China. So if that happens, then we're in a different world. But based on right now, because right now, the reality of the, at least the U.S. economy, it's really the only one that I know, is that like inflation is coming down. So
true.
If that continues on into 2026, 2027, whenever this new console launches, like, yeah, I could see this price being pretty much the same. And honestly, I think it would behoove them to launch it at a like respectable price and then just eat that for a while. Like, they're Microsoft, they can do that. And then as that inflation comes down, just keep the price the same. You'll be making more money because that money will be worth more, And so, I don't know. Theoretically, I'm assuming it still keeps coming down, because, not to get too political, don't think the new guy's going to do a great job with that, but we'll see. He didn't do a great job with it last time, so I don't necessarily think he's going to do a great job. I mean, history would dictate.
I have zero faith.
So,
zero.
Yeah, but if it continues on the same trend that it's been on for the last year and a half or so, it'll continue to come down. And if that's the case, then I think it makes more sense for them to launch like maybe at most a $700 console, and then also their smaller one, which may or may not be like a dockable handheld, is like some of the rumors that we've been hearing.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I think if you have that lower price model then you can make the excuse of making one like slightly more expensive, not like $900, $1,000. Especially if Phil Spencer just said we can't grow the industry with $1,000 consoles, you can't then turn around and be like, here's a $1,000 console. That would be really embarrassing. So don't do that, Xbox. I know you've done stupid shit like that in the past, but don't do it again.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, I think for them the price point is going to be pretty much the same. I think PlayStation 6. I know King David doesn't think it's going to exist, but if PlayStation 6 does exist, that bitch is going to be expensive. And it's part of it is the story that we're going to get into later is they're apparently trying to make a really big purchase that they frankly don't have the money for, and so they're going to be desperate for cash. They're not going to be able to sell anything at a loss. And if that's the case, which if that deal goes through, then
Ooh, brother.
R.I.P. your wallet if you're a PlayStation fan, quite frankly.
So
also, if that does happen, they'll probably have to start publishing things on other platforms, which they already are. Look around.
Yeah. Which is a win in itself in some ways, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, it comes with a lot of losses. We'll get into that when it's later. But yeah, I only have one more thing on the docket here for the rundown, and it's something that also sort of ties into one of the main stories. Is hey, did you hear that Jeff Keighley is trying to trademark the term Game Awards?
I did, and it's very
He wants
stupid.
to make it. He wants to make it so that nobody else can host a video game award, or any award show really, but specifically, I guess, a video game award show, where you wouldn't be able to have the words Game Awards involved in that award show at any point.
Yeah, incredibly stupid.
And on top of that, he's also sending emails to customers, to fans, and being like, hey, could you go and wingman me to the US Patent Office to be like, oh, he's good for it. He won't do anything bad with it. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's akin to someone trying to trademark, I don't know, remember that whole blow up about the whole what was that, Monolith's what they call that damn thing, the system when they do, what do they call that system inside those Lord of the Ring games?
Oh, the Nemesis system.
The Nemesis system. It's akin to that for me. It's like you're gonna try to trademark a game mechanic. That's so stupid. This is worse than that. It felt like Nintendo filed this lawsuit or something.
Yeah,
it's just so overreach for no reason.
If you want to trademark your thing, that's cool, but you can't name it something that generic and then trademark that thing. You can't name it.
I trademarked the word air. If you say it, you have to pay me.
It's like do you remember that year period where everyone in television had to sing a fake birthday song because the people who owned the real birthday song started suing for no reason?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's on that level to me where it's like, what the hell do you mean? To be clear, it hasn't been put through yet. He hasn't officially gotten that patent yet, and I hope he doesn't, because what the hell do you mean? One of the things that I kept hearing over and over again on the many podcasts I listened to this week in regards to the nominees for the Game Awards was well, if you don't like it, why don't you just host your own Game Awards? Which, first of all, fuck you, anyone who said that. And second of all, oh, because the term Game Awards is now trademarked, you dumbass. So I literally can.
It's always funny anyway when people say that. Well, if you don't like the song, why don't you go make your own music? It's okay, that ain't got
No, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. Let me just go run into the recording studio real fast. My local neighborhood. It's next to the library.
Yeah, it's come on. Well, if you didn't like the movie, why don't you make a better movie? It's stop.
Bro, eat my ass.
Right, stop. I'm gonna make a whole big budget, 100 million plus whatever movie to try to compete with this movie because I didn't like this. What they did, it's so silly, the thought process. Some people will go to dismiss claims or issues. Listen, I did want to mention this because you had mentioned the price. And when I asked for the price, what you thought, just because, and Gray mentioned this, and I'm kind of the mind of Gray. I think it's going to be 800 or more, and US. I'm not sure how much it'll hit everybody else, but Gray says next gen 800 plus US. I don't think they'll subsidize the next console. The real cost of the Series X is 600 to 700 without a loss to Xbox. I'm of the same mind. I think Microsoft will possibly subsidize a bit, but it's not going to be they have to give us more than what the Pro is giving. And if the Pro is already priced at at 700 or whatever, and they're giving you such an advancement on the pisser, as they would say, and some of the internals, the GPU, whatever. And
Yeah.
then they're gonna have to outdo that Pro model in what they give us next. All right, they can't afford to just give us the Pro version of this. It's not enough of an uplift, because the Pro, to me, the Pro is not even enough of an uplift to get personally now for me. It's like,
no, it's not.
So yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but a lot of because the rumor is like 2026 at the earliest. By that point, like, there's going to be the 5,000 series cards are going to be out. Like all of this older stuff is going to become less expensive, as it always does.
Yeah.
So a lot of these prices are going to come down. So like, yes, if they were going to launch a new console right now and it was going to have to be more powerful than the Pro, then yeah, this thing would have to be way more expensive. But we're talking about a future where, because we're as a planet right now at a very bad place in terms of inflation, in terms of cost of everything. So
it might be exacerbated
2 years
because of
from
that.
now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of the sort of like concern about that is valid, but it's, a couple years from now when it comes out, a lot of that is going to start to come down, particularly in hopefully the countries in which this thing is going to be made. And so, when the cost of like silica comes down and the cost of these parts goes down because new parts have come out, then, I think that, they've been able to largely maintain console pricing for a while now, for the last couple of generations, where it's been like, $500-$600 for what, since like what did the 360 launch at? Is that like 500, 400?
The 360 launched at 4, I think it was. Let me see. Hold on. Xbox, I kind of forget, man. I'm old. Let me see. Release price.
Yeah, because I didn't get mine until like way late.
It was 400. I was right. Yeah, 399.
Yeah, and the Series X was, I think, like 500 at launch. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And that's,
so like, I mean, we're
that's what
talking
hurt
about
it too, because they had that damn packed in camera with the Kinect.
Yeah, well, but the Series X was 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but this, because the Series X didn't launch with the camera, that was the one, right?
That was the one. I'm thinking, yeah, but shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's the Xbox One with a camera. My ass is going up too far ahead. Yeah,
so
that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah,
I could see the price going up, but I think if it does go up, it'll go up to like 6. I don't see it jumping to 8. I don't see that happening.
Man, I don't know. I'm telling you, I feel like you might listen. I hope you're right. I hope that it would only be like 6 at launch, maybe even 7. I feel like 8 might be it though. Like if they're really, just because of everything that's going on. But you are also right too, because by that point, so much stuff will have gone down price wise. Because right now we're about to go into the 50 series, like you said, and hell, we might be moving to the 60 series by that point. So you might be right.
Yeah, that stuff just like keeps cooking. I don't know. It just keeps going. So yeah, like I don't know. I think those prices will come down. I wouldn't be surprised if it went up a little bit, but I would, if that bitch launches at $800, it better be real good. Is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because PlayStation and Xbox right now are both having issues moving people onto this current generation, and those prices are 500. So if you're launching your base model at 800 the next generation, like you're not moving anybody. Like that's not happening.
Yeah, it's going to be specifically for the hardcore.
Yeah, well, and I have to assume, right, that they're not going to want to keep 3 generations of consoles going, right?
True.
Like once the Series X2 or whatever comes out, you imagine that they're going to probably start shutting down servers for Xbox One.
Yeah, I can see that. It's weird though with Microsoft, because their plan seems to kind of involve having like the whole ecosystem of Xbox available to play whatever, even if it's future forward. So I don't know how they might try to navigate that, honestly.
I mean, at a certain point, like you're just not going to be able to make games that run on that old platform.
True.
You know?
Yeah. I guess streaming is their go-to.
True.
Yeah.
But even then,
there's only so much you can do after a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think we're rapidly approaching.
That was about it for that.
And well, I think we're I think we're rapidly approaching like end of service for the Xbox One. Like I just can't imagine it being able to continue for another 10 years. Like that's
I don't
not
think so
happening.
either. Also, too, I want them to kind of get away from the whole let's continue servicing the last gen and this gen, and we don't really see the uplift of these games because of it. Though I do understand the plight of those who are possibly still on the last console, because there's some people that are still on the Xbox One probably now. The more casual of us, but
I mean, we know that for a fact, right? Because when we look at like
the monthly active users and such,
and all that, it's like because we know what the Xbox Series has sold somewhere in the ballpark of like 40 million, I think maybe a little less, and they reported 120 some odd million active users on just Xbox platforms in the last quarter. So yeah, no, there's a lot of dudes on Xbox One. Theoretically, some of those people might be double dippers, I guess. I don't know. But those people are gonna have to are unfortunately going to have to probably move up.
move on up.
I think as soon as games stop supporting that platform, which they will have to pretty soon here, then people will at least buy like a Series S. I mean, Series S's are very affordable these days.
They are definitely, definitely the price point I think anybody should be able to get into. Would just put a little money to the side. It's so cheap now, and you can find sales for them. I'm sure they're gonna have.
Oh yeah, Black Friday. That thing's gonna be like $100.
Yeah, so now might be the best time for anybody still on the fence.
Yeah,
especially with Grand Theft Auto coming up. The Xbox will be the place to play if you want to try to get into it cheaper.
True.
But yeah, man, was that it for the news roundup for us?
That's everything I pulled.
Okay, so let's move to S.T.A.L.K.E.R. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 2. Could you look up the scores for it? I did post it in the chat.
Yeah, I got you.
I'll transition this scene. So this is the first part of the game. If you guys are looking at the screen, we're not gonna stay on it too long. So even if you haven't played it, you won't be spoiled too much by anything. But just to give my thoughts on it, a few things. I will say right now, I was not blown away by anything. Now, anybody that knows me, I love me some Unreal Engine. I don't even have to tell you. I love me some Unreal Engine. So, having jumped into this, and even before that, when we all saw this game and we were, we saw it showcased at their events and such, we were like, man, this looks like it could be something. It looked really, really spectacular, right? Like all of us were blown away initially by the reveal of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 2. And I'm sad to say that it did not live up to that. Now, maybe about a month back, I was on the Infinite podcast with Riskin and family, and I mentioned the latest video I've seen of this looked like a downgrade. It didn't look like it had those same visuals that they first kind of showcased. And I'm playing on, I got the 4080 Super. I'm sorry, Gray, you're gonna have to vomit for a second. I got on the 4080 Super. I got it in ultra settings, and he's already booing me now.
Get his ass.
But I gotta say, I put it on ultra. It is not the visual spectacle I thought it would be, honestly. And now, to be fair, visuals don't make everything. It's not everything in the game, right? So it looks good enough. It's not bad looking. It's just, I expected it. I think it's kind of crazy because after Hellblade 2 and what they did with that, as far as visuals, nothing has touched it. Nothing. And I say I say that loving
it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a minute.
It's going to be a while before anything touches Hellblade 2. That's going to be the one that we look back on the way people have looked back on Rise for so long. Of like, wow, Hellblade 2 came out 10 years ago and games still look worse than it. Like,
so true.
Really, I think that's going to happen.
So true. Hell, Rise still looks good now. And he says, Floodzilla says, welcome to PCMR, bro. Yeah, indeed. And I was talking to Flood before all of this just to see where I should put my settings at and such. And, I wanted to get the frame rates right. And he was like, just try it on Ultra. I put it on Ultra. visuals picked up a bit more because I had it on high, and I was like, this is not doing it for me. I put it to ultra, it looked better, but it still didn't wow me. And I guess again we've been spoiled because having played Hellblade 2, haven't even played Black Myth Wukong, which is gorgeous. Hell, even Dragon Age Veilguard is gorgeous. It's not Unreal, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I think the art direction is bad. We're getting off topic.
Yeah, we drifted off.
I don't care for the art direction, but visually it looks very good.
Visually is nice. But like seeing Hellblade, I guess to stick to the Unreal part, it's going to be tough for anything to kind of hit that plateau of that anymore. I think they're going to really, at least without some other parts of the game tanking because of it. And so unless we start getting some, I don't know, some real great engine work done, I don't know. We'll see. I guess these gaming wizards will surprise us at some point. But visually, it did not do it for me. So that's one thing. Two, we were speaking on it a bit earlier, and you can't in some ways you can't approach it as a typical first-person shooter because you can get one hit killed in here. It's like a one-hit tap. You can get tapped, and it's just it. It's no like, I'll heal over time. No, you have to get bandages and what is the other thing you do if you're bleeding? Well, bandages is for bleeding, and you have to get the medicine, I guess, just to heal. So
I heard that like you can get shot and win a fight and then bleed out like a little while later.
Yep,
that's really intense.
It is.
I think in terms of like hitting a more mass appeal, they should probably have some kind of game mode where you can turn those options off.
Good point. Good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah,
but I don't know. If that's the vision for the game. Quite frankly, like I mean, I know we're going to talk about it. Their situation is like, it's a miracle this game exists. Frankly,
indeed.
So like, I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway on not having like all of these other modes and like options built in. But yeah, that's probably one that they should be working on.
That's true. Flood says, or vodka. That's true. You can get eat food and things like that too. And it's just like Pixel pointed out, it's more of a survival style first-person shooter. It's not a typical first-person. Wait, but you could drink the whiskey for radiation poison? I didn't know that.
Does that work in the real world?
Right.
I gotta drink more whiskey.
Palpatine says, save a lot. I agree with that as well. I had learned that kind of the hard way because I was playing and these damn invisible creature things that you come across knocked my head for a loop.
How's the autosave on it?
Autosave is,
I guess, not great.
It's not bad. It's just that it's not terrible. Like I didn't die and was so far behind. Like, damn, I got to go do all that over again. It it wasn't that bad, but it's just I would just say save a lot because you don't want to be put in a situation either that you got to go back through all that again.
For sure.
What else was I going to say? It has a kind of Resident Evil-esque. What's the word I'm looking for? Because you open up the backpack and everything, inventory. That's the word I'm looking for. It has a bit of a Resident Evil-esque inventory where you have to try to put all your items in there properly to store it. And if you don't, you just can't fit it. You have to drop some things. Also, you can become over encumbered too. That's another thing that's kind of unique. That's not typical in some first-person shooters. You can literally become over encumbered in here. So I had to drop a few weapons, and I was stocking up too. My ass was greedy. I had like 18 AKs or something that I grabbed. I was like, okay, let me drop some of these because I can't move. And I could not. I had to drop some stuff. But other than that, like, I don't know what else really to speak on. I'll say that the general movement feels decent enough, should I say? Some of the stuff on the story, I'm lost on. As far as like, it confused me a little bit. Like, I'm like, okay, well, anomalies and all of that, and then you got these damn lightning bolt things flying around. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. So some of it confused me, but I didn't give it enough time either. I put like 3 or 4 hours into it, and I kind of went from there. So I don't know enough of it to really judge it. So it's just an impression. But what were the review scores? What did they look like?
Not great. I mean, it has a lot of positive reviews for sure, but it's right now sitting at a Metacritic of 74, with the user score being a little bit higher at 77, which puts it in the green at least in terms of Metacritic. I don't know. I've been reading a couple of the reviews here, and they're largely in step with you. They might be. I mean, I've been reading the ones near the top so far, and you know they seem maybe a little bit more positive on it. It seems like people who are familiar with the franchise and have played it before, and seemingly even especially people who play it on PC. It seems like, which would make sense because I think that's the only place where Stalker 1 is. Yeah, is that somewhere else? I don't even remember.
The first Stalker, is it elsewhere, you're saying, on other platforms?
Yeah, I know it's on PC. I think like I think of Stalker, the original Stalker, as like a PC ass game. Anyway, the people who fall into those categories seem to generally be reviewing it higher. People reviewing it on consoles are more middling. There's not a ton that gave it like bad scores. It seems like there's a handful of them that are in like the 60s, and there's 2 in the 40s, but most of them are in that 70 range. So I don't know. It seems like it is one of those just like largely kind of like mediocre scoring games.
That's what it seemed like to me. And I'll say, just from my own experience, having played it, the little time I did put into it, I wasn't blown away. So I guess I kind of got what they were going. It's kind of hard to take some of them serious though, because when you really watch them, sometimes when they show that their gameplay, you realize they don't know what the hell they're talking about because they're not good at playing games.
Yeah,
and I
for sure.
don't think I'm in that territory. I think I'm decent at games. I'm not like the greatest, but I'm better than them, I would say, in most cases I've seen. But so I don't know. And I think too, they came into it with the wrong mindset, and I did too a little bit. I came in like, well, isn't a first-person shooter typical? No, it's not. And if you get that out of your head immediately, and this thing ran up after me too. This gave me that kind of Bethesda moment, by the way. I'm not sure if anybody else felt that, but you come out of the sewers and this creature runs up on you. I'm like, oh, stepping out into the world, and then here's this pig monster. Right, here's this
world is hell.
Yeah, right. There's this irradiated pig monster chasing after me, and I found some dog that chased after me too. I killed it too. I'm like, get your dog ass away from me. You irradiated dog thing. Yeah, but once you get out of the mindset, it's not a typical first-person shooter, and that you have to pace yourself better. I think the dog is about to attack him now because this is where I encountered it. Yep, there it is, right there. Once you kind of get out of the dog doesn't know where you run. Look at him. As you can see, some of the animations and such are a little rough.
Why are you running?
Why are you running? It's like some of it is clearly like you can see it's not as like that's cool that you can shoot the windows and stuff out, but you can see some of it is that knife ain't gonna do nothing, my man. You can see that some of it is clearly like.
Is that your gameplay or is that somebody
this
else?
is somebody else's? So I'm just laughing at him though, because he's
I was
doing what I do.
It's like, why are you talking trash to yourself? I was like, what's going on here?
It's funny because he's doing some of the things I did, which is like I explore every nook and cranny, right? When I play these types of games, but I'll say like I have to put more time into it, so I cannot fully judge it. But from what I did play, I kind of get where some of the scores are, where it's at. That said, I think it's landed, where is it now? Like a 72, maybe 76, I think, maybe, better yet. I think it landed. Let me make sure of what the final score. Because I think it was fluctuating last I saw. Meta score, let's see. Right now, it is at 74 for PC. Let me see it put on all platforms. It's 74 for PC. It's an 80 on the Xbox Series X. So I would, I guess, meet them in the middle. Let's say 75, right? I guess 75 to 80.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a bad game, and I think we've kind of gotten to this point, when it comes to game discussions, where if the game is not a 9 or whatever, it's bad, right? But no, a 7 is supposed to be good. I actually had this funny kind of, not a debate, but a back and forth a little bit with Nib, who he cracks me up because Nib he's a good dude, but he definitely puts a more of a negative spin on Xbox releases, and he tries to dress it up as him being fair and impartial.
Yeah.
But it's very obvious.
Saw you, I don't know him, but I saw you talking to him on Twitter a while ago.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is not what you would expect for a tentpole. I'm like, this is not a damn tentpole game.
Stalker's a temple?
This is
that's
not
a temple. It's a temple in a war zone, so
right.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
It's not a temple, and because he wanted to put that as a negative for Xbox. Oh, Xbox, and a tentpole failed. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
this is not a
Microsoft should
tempo.
have defeated the Russian army to make this game better.
Right.
Why
Send
are we
them
not
more.
militarizing
Yeah.
the Bill Gates army of robots?
All right. Help Ukraine, Microsoft, and take out all of Russia and get this game proper. Like the whole thing. That's the thing about this too, and that's why I'm more lenient when it comes to this whole point of this, because these guys turned in something exceptional enough in a literally going through hell themselves. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane to me that they could even put the time. Like, imagine that you in the, I guess in the night you're possibly coding or something like that, and then working on textures, and in the morning you have to go start shooting at other people and dodging bullets and bombs. Like, that's insane. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know. Must have been. You know what? But it made the recording of the gun sound so much easier. Like, really, they should have been great at it, right?
Right.
That'd be the most realistic game. Honestly, you know what? Maybe that's part of.
That's the.
I didn't play the first
DNA.
Stalker, but maybe that's part of why Stalker 2 is so like unforgiving and violent and hard to get anything done with, is because like they're living through it.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? This is actually what a gunfight is like. You need to take it like. It's not you get hit and then you see red and pass out. Like, no, like if you get hit, like you're the rest of your day is fixing that. You know,
Yeah.
you got to get the band-aids, you got to get the medicine, you got to apparently drink whiskey.
Right. Whiskey makes the pain
maybe,
go away. Yeah, and the radiation.
Maybe their first-hand experiences flavored the hardship of war into their game.
I think
I don't
so.
know.
It might be a good point for that. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But also too, I know a lot of obviously Microsoft did a lot to help these guys
Get
get into a better situation.
Get out of Poland, right?
Yeah.
Or get into
Ukraine.
Poland?
Get into Poland. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a lot of that is happening too. So I know like not all of them are that were doing this or in some type of war zone before somebody. Actually, I already hear somebody already. Yeah.
Actually, the guy who does the UI, he lives in like Botswana. Get out of my, get out of my balls, dude. Ugh.
Actually, they're not technically fighting Russia. You misinforming people. Like, I get it. Okay.
God, I mean, some of them literally became service members, and some of them did actually die in the line of duty. So
exactly. So that said, I
like
think
Ukraine's a relatively small country in comparison, so like that whole place is kind of getting dunked on right now.
It is, man. It's sad.
Although they're doing, I mean, like
they are doing well, yeah. To their credit,
they're doing like Ukraine's small but tough.
Yeah, there's some tough guys. I saw one. I think it was a guy. I forgot where I saw it. It was on Twitter or Blue Sky, one of the two. And the dude was detailing how he was a well-off guy, had his girlfriend and wife or whatever and dog, and like he had pictures of it. And then the next thing you know, he's a soldier now. Like, damn. Like, can you imagine that? Going from that to that? You know, like
absolutely not.
Sheesh. But that aside, so far I will say my views align a bit with the score. I don't think the game is super exceptionally like, oh man, you gotta play Stalker, but I don't think it's bad. I'm not saying that to say it's bad. I just don't think it's like, I'm not like, oh, this is game of the year material right here. I don't think that at all. Visually, again, is definitely a downgrade. Unfortunately, it's not what they kind of showed us it was going to be. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I think if you go into it with the right mindset of not expecting it to be like a Call of Duty or something like that, you'll enjoy the game enough if you could just pace yourself and try to get into the world. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I had assumed, is like the way I looked at it was like a really hardcore Fallout, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. You also get the little handy knife. It did feel like Resident Evil in some ways too, because you got to crack these boxes open and stuff sometimes to get medicine.
Sometimes there's a snake in it and it bites you.
Yeah. Why did it have to be snakes?
Why is it always snakes?
But let's move on from this. Hopefully the game does well as far. I know that's another thing I did want to speak on before I moved on. Speaking of doing well, numbers wise, it did pretty well as far as Steam. Yeah, let me see if I can find it really quick. it had landed at, here it is. It says it has surpassed 105. This was then at the time. I think it's now at like 113 or 115 at the highest concurrent. But at the time when I got this from Hazardor, it was at 105,000 concurrent players on Steam in just a few hours after launch. With a player's review, I think at around a 73.76. So in game, they got a good amount of people to launch with. So it's probably going to end up doing well, the game. I hope it does, just because of the guys in the situation, and then try to put out a good game. So hey, more power to them. They launch well. We'll see how far it goes. Let's move to the game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me transition this scene.
It's embarrassing, honestly.
So, how do we want to approach this? Do we want to start with just go down a list of nominees?
Yeah, maybe.
The Game Awards.
Here's my top level thoughts on this. If you read just the nominees for these categories, you would think that not a single video game of value came out this entire year.
Yeah, right.
If you read through this, you'd be like, they're doing what? They got DLCs doing who? They got remakes doing everything? What's going on?
Yeah.
We got a card game on like 7 different categories. Was there no video games this year?
Do you want to? I don't want to start with Game of the Year for some reason. I feel like
That's the big one.
Should we save that one or start on it? What do you think?
Save it.
Save it. Okay. So I'll name off some categories, and how about this? You tell me which one you want to go on, and I'll pick the next one. How about that?
Okay.
So they got a decent amount of categories, so we clearly can't cover them all.
No.
Let's cover the ones that really would. I'm going to skip any of the esports.
Yeah.
Creator of the year skipped. How about I'll say most anticipated, and I'll give you your option. You got best multiplayer, best sports racing, best sim, strategy.
Oh, I've just got the website open here. I'm just looking at it.
Let me switch the scene. By the way, I forgot to switch the scene for people to see this. Sorry, folks. There you go. That man looks dope right there, by the way. Best fighting game. Let's see what else. Best RPG, best action adventure, best action game. Stellar Blade. I love Stellar Blade, by the way. I enjoyed the hell out of that. Also, Black Myth, I see it there. You have best VR. We're skipping that, obviously. Best mobile. Best deep debut indie game. Best independent game. Best community sport. Skipping that. Best ongoing game. That matters. Games for impact. So. Innovation and accessibility. That matters, obviously, but I don't know how far we would get into that. Best performance. Audio, score, and music. Obviously important. Best art direction, and that best narrative, and then I believe it's Game of the Year. Oh, best adaptation and game direction, then Game of the Year. There it is. So which one would you want to tackle? What do you tell
If we're not, yeah, I think I kind of want to go in on best fighting.
Best fighting. Let me scroll down.
Because that one's embarrassing. I mean, a lot of them are embarrassing. That one is very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just on the game. I just opened back up the scene. I'm on the
Best
on the Game Awards website.
So best fighting, we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Mm-hmm.
You have Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. That's a mouthful. Multiverses and Tekken 8.
So here's the problem with this. Other than the obvious. So there's two real fighting games that came out this year nominated, right? Tekken 8 and Dragon Ball. And those were both fairly highly, regarded. I understand them being here. Those are the two that should be here. I don't know if I don't know the fighting game universe that well. I don't know if there were 3 other good ones that came out this year. If there weren't, then just don't do this category this year. Like the categories that you do and you vote on should be reflective of the year in which you're voting on them. If only 2 fighting games came out, you don't need to do that award. Just loop them into something else. Put them in best multiplayer. Like that's what fighting games are, right? So if you only have 2, pick the best and nominate it for best multiplayer, right? because the other three here are a joke. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, probably a good game. Here's the thing, it came out last year. This game came out after the cutoff date last year, and so it's just like this blinding example of like, oh, that's right, we've chosen the stupidest time to have the cutoff. Because when you put the cutoff halfway through November, what that means is that all of the games that launch in the holiday window are not eligible for the Game Awards, which is like usually most of the big games of the year launch from like October to December. So you're losing probably half of them every year.
Yeah, that's been one of the points of contention for a lot of people. They've been saying that the Game Awards should probably be more at the beginning of the next year, not this year, not the year of.
Literally, just even if you just pushed the date of the cutoff by like 2 weeks, like 2 weeks, you would get a lot more games in there. Even if it was like, because when do the Game Awards happen? Like the December 5th or 9th or something?
I think 9th, I think.
Yeah. So if you had the cutoff for nominations December 1st, you would get so many of the important games in there, and you could still have it. Maybe you pushed it back to like December 15th, December 16th, something like that. And then you don't have as much of a problem. Realistically, you should do what every other award show on the planet does and have your award show at the beginning of the year and talk about the previous year.
Yep.
Because now you have this issue every single time where you're like, oh, because like, and I understand that Jeff Keighley doesn't actually care about video games, like he never has. He cares about money. Like that's what this has always been. And what he really wants it in December for is not to celebrate video games because he doesn't care about them. He wants it in December because it's an empty space for a marketing beat.
100%.
And so he knows that if he puts it in there, he can get more ad revenue from what he really cares about, which is filling a 5-hour broadcast with 7,000 commercials. So in December, that'll make him more money. In January, it's a more filled space with all of the other things going on. Like that's when like the NFL playoffs are. That's when, I think that's like when the Oscars are and like things that he would actually have to compete for in this space. So he wants to do it in December so that he can make more money because that's all he cares about. So but the problem with that is this exactly here, where it's like, oh, well, that probably should have been nominated last year, and there should be a bunch of other things nominated in all of these categories that actually came out this year, but we couldn't bother with that. We couldn't be bothered with that because it would it would make it so that Jeff would make like slightly less money, maybe. What a dickhead. And then on top of that, the other two nominations are a re-release collection of old games, and a game that was released last year, was nominated last year, was like unreleased and re-released this year. Like Multiverses was nominated for this same category last year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is
it's a joke.
It is pretty stupid how they handle it, I would admit. But you all, like you hit it on the head. You know exactly why he puts it in the time frame he does and everything like that. And everything tends to flow off of that. And that's, I think, you know what, like I the closest people I saw in, as far as in our space, that could do something that kind of give these games their due justice, which ultimately doesn't, like, you hit a major blip on the map, but it's us kind of doing our own thing to honor these developers. And
for sure,
it'll have to be something where we kind of come together with some of the bigger names in the podcasting scene to say, hey, what's your, like, give us our I guess our own versions of the media who vote on these things, right? And because I think a lot of the problem is too, even beyond the whole Jeff on how he approaches this and puts these games up and not for nomination. A lot of these guys don't play these games, not fully, not enough.
No, yeah, a lot of the like genre awards, you can tell that it's like, oh, IGN has like one guy on staff who knows what this is, and the rest of the people were just throwing in whatever games they could think of that happened to fit this category.
Pretty much, and we've seen that in past years. Like, I think best ongoing is always a weird one.
Oh, it's always a mess.
Yeah,
I actually haven't looked at best ongoing this year, but I'm sure it is.
Yeah, this year,
shocker, it is.
Yeah, this year is weird for, I guess, because like, I know a lot of people were complaining about Destiny 2 being there, and some people were saying Helldivers 2 shouldn't be there because it just came out this year and they didn't really. It's not ongoing from.
It hasn't really been ongoing that long, and
Yeah.
honestly, while they have done a good job of like communicating with their fan base, they actually have not done a great job with like continued content of that game, especially with the whole like getting it delisted in 180 countries thing. So I wouldn't put that there. I mean, honestly, like if you want to talk about best ongoing games that never get, nominated, but should at least be thought about, is like World of Warcraft put out a new expansion this year. Like all of these big battle royales did stuff this year that you could talk about. But no, here we are with Destiny that died this year, and Helldivers 2 that came out this year. Like those are 2 spots that should be given to really anything else.
Yeah, 100%. As far as, so I'll move to most anticipated. Most anticipated is interesting, and I was having a discussion with a bunch of the fellas, and this is my thing, and I want to get you guys in the chat too. Give me your most anticipated game, or better yet, I'll tell you what. Give me a game that you feel more anticipated about, and remove one of these games here from this list. In this list, we have Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which is I could go on, die on a hill that is one of the most terrible names I've ever heard of a game. On the beach, I still don't understand that little extra. That's just so stupid to me. Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, should I say? I almost said Beyond Retro. That's their name. Beyond. You have Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, Monster Hunter Wilds, we know that's anticipated. Grand Theft Auto 6, obviously.
That's the winner.
That's
not
the
the winner.
It's got to be.
We'll know it's rigged if it goes to anything else.
Anything else we know is bull. Metroid Prime, they may as well not even have this category with Grand Theft Auto being there, being honest. They might as well just close this down, in other words, for me. Metroid Prime, now, I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan lately. I love Nintendo, but I'm not like, oh man, I'm paying attention to all the moves they're making. But I don't really see a whole bunch of hype people talking about Metroid Prime.
No, not even like in the podcast space. Like I see people, I don't know, there were people who were asking for it for the years between when it was first announced and when we finally got the trailer this year. But ever since we got that trailer, everyone was like, oh, okay, it's another one of these games that I actually don't care about, because Metroid has like never performed particularly well. Like it's not a bad, like it has its fan base obviously, but it's not like on the level of Mario or Zelda or any Pokemon, right? Like this is very, very much like in a different lower category. So yeah, I don't know. It's what would I replace here? I would replace Death Stranding 2 on the beach with paying my taxes in April. I'm more looking forward to that.
Right.
I would replace Metroid Prime 4 with like, I don't know, Perfect Dark or Fable, and the other 3 I'm fine with. Ghost of Yotei makes sense, like Grand Theft Auto, Ghost of Yotei, Monster Hunter Wilds, like those
3 make sense. Yeah,
but there's like so many other bigger games coming out next year
alone that
should be
surpass
at
these.
Least thought about.
Yeah,
and it's like, so I'm genuinely shocked. I'm shocked specifically that Death Stranding 2 is here.
No way should that be there.
No one cares about Death Stranding.
No way. Only Jeff.
Death Stranding came out and no one played it.
Yeah, like, that's exactly like what made them think this is the most anticipated. Jeff is the only. I'm telling you right now, he's the one that made them put that on that list. Like, oh, I'm gonna throw a little bone at me and put a Death Stranding 2 there. Nobody's thinking about this game. Like, shout out to Kojima. There's no shade to him.
He has to have it nominated so that he can justify bringing Kojima out on stage.
That's exactly what it is. What if it wins too? Like,
I here's the thing. I won't be watching, so I won't know.
If it wins, I would like literally cackle, like as it happened. I would like not even a lot of laugh. I would cackle.
Yeah,
like that's hilarious to me. That is there. Nowhere in the world should that be there over the likes of, I don't know, Fable or let me read some of the chat. Doom Flood, exactly, like Doom or Gears E-Day. Come on now. You got Avowed. You have Perfect Dark. Come on. Like,
could you technically put games that come out in December?
Probably
because of how stupid the timing of this is.
Technically, yeah, I think you're right. Most anticipated, sure.
Like, could you put Indiana Jones on this list?
That's a good point too. Why is Indy not there or something? Like nobody's thinking about Death
Well, it's
Stranding.
because the people who vote on this are anti-Xbox. Like,
Yeah.
they've always known that.
Good point. I think the bias starts to show at a point, and that's
Yeah. Well, they're not hiding it anymore. You know,
Yeah.
they're walking around, they're parading. We know. We've seen it.
yeah.
We had the whole conversation last year about the Xbox tax, and then everyone wanted to, you know, poo-poo and say, "Oh, that doesn't exist," and then spent the entire time between then and now talking about how it's the worst place, and oh my god, they're doing so terrible. And then you look at literally any number other than console sales, and it's like, oh, they're actually doing better than PlayStation.
Right. Yeah. Who would have thunk it?
Well, it's crazy. It's almost like they know how to run a business because they've been doing it successfully and are one of the most successful businesses on the planet. But no, that's fine. What do I know? I mean, nothing. But they.
So
what I know is how to read a spreadsheet, which is apparently an unusual skill.
unusual. So, oh yeah, South of Midnight, Palpatine. I forgot about South of Midnight. I'm anticipating everything you guys have listed. I'm anticipating more than Death Stranding.
Well, have you noticed that like pretty much everything we've labeled it, or have listed have been Xbox games?
Oh,
and there's more than that, but it's just
Yep.
like Xbox games will just like never make this list because the people who vote on it don't care.
Don't care about Xbox and don't play on it
They
really.
don't play it.
Yeah. Pyro says it removed GTA 6. It will 100% be delayed until 2026. I don't know, man. We'll see. I've heard people
Will it be
saying
delayed
that
until
GTA 6 he thinks will be
Oh,
delayed.
it could be.
It's possible, but I don't know. He says replace it with Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza. That's another one that could have been there because that's anticipated too, for sure. I agree with that part. I don't know if GTA 6 will be delayed because they have their fiduciary responsibilities. So I don't know. We'll see. But Pirate Yakuza for sure, 100%. That's more anticipated than I would imagine than Death Stranding too. I don't know. Clockwork Revolution by Flood. Yes, that's another great one. I'm anticipating everything you guys have named. Everything the light touches is our kingdom. Everything you guys have named is better than what they have here for Death Stranding. I would even probably take Metroid Prime out of the way. Both of those would be eliminated immediately. For
I
me.
would take a colonoscopy over Death Stranding 2. I'm more excited for the heat death of the universe than for Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, damn.
And as one of the 6 people on the planet who rolled credits on the first one, I feel justified in saying so.
Yeah, I still haven't really delved into. I played like maybe 5 minutes of the game.
Don't bother. I bought it on Xbox just for like the memes of buying a PlayStation game on Xbox, but I'm not gonna play it again.
Yeah, I got it on Epic some time back. I forgot how long ago, so I couldn't play it on the PC. But I'm like, do I want to though? I don't have any motivation to play that game. Anyway, let's move to some other categories. Let's see what else we have. We have skipping past that. Best multiplayer. Do we want to go to that? Not really. By the way, I would say, what would you guys say has best shot at multiplayer in the chat? I'll leave this to you guys. Best multiplayer is Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer Space Marine 2. I'm going to go to Black Ops 6, I'm guessing. I know it scored exceptionally well.
If it doesn't go to Black Ops 6, I'll be honestly a little upset.
Yeah.
Like, that would be genuinely a little offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, oh, it's the best it's the best version of the best selling and most popular multiplayer game of the last 2 decades or something.
It's hard to ignore that. Yep.
But no, tell me again why it should be Hellblade 2, or not Hellblade, Helldivers 2, that got, a decent amount of buzz when it first launched and then got completely shit-canned by Sony when they decided to touch it.
Yeah, they should have left that alone. Oh, we need you guys to sign your PSN contract. And everybody's like, no. Yeah, what's up, Gamsley? He says, Fable not being there is ridiculous. It says, unless they know it's not coming out in 2025. Hey.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to come out in 2025, I don't think, right? It's just most anticipated. It's just a game that hasn't come out yet, right?
That's true.
Does it specify 2025?
It doesn't, that I know of. It's just most anticipated. But that could maybe
say Half-Life 3 because they keep saying that.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Yeah, you can throw out Half-Life if that's the case. But yeah, I'm actually of the mind that Fable will not come out next year. Personally, actually, I think it'll be the year after.
I tend to lean that direction. I wouldn't be like surprised if it came out, but I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's if it goes either way. I would tell you that. I'm leaning toward it not coming out next year. Yeah, in that case, AJH, hell yeah, I'll co-sign that with you. Witcher 4, absolutely. I cannot wait for that. Best sports racing. One of the things I found weird, and this was pointed out, and I was doing Boop Booms on Tuesday. People pointed out why all these games in the best sports racing category. Why in the world wasn't NCAA from EA mentioned in this? Which is a fair point. Like, I don't see why Top Spin is on here. And like even rated wise, I think it didn't score well. Or WWE. Well, WWE I can see because got a lot of people playing.
Yeah,
it.
I mean this WWE like 2K24 was very popular. I'm not surprised to not see it here. It almost never gets nominated for this sort of thing. NCAA, I'm more surprised by.
Yeah,
that is the sports game I heard about this year.
Everybody was talking about it. Like it moved units, and not only did it move units, it helped move Xboxes and such too. Like I had a big story around that. So it's kind of surprising. Somebody had mentioned on Booms, they said, well, maybe Umbra's because of like a lot of these are world centric, whereas that's just American centric. I'm like, I guess. Because like a lot of these other sports here listed, F1, FC, which is soccer, right? And then NBA 2K rather, and Top Spin, all these are worldwide.
But like most of the people who actually vote on the nominees are American, and look, I know F1's a big thing for some people. It's way more niche than American football.
Agreed. See Gamsley saying it too. Yeah, that's what they reasoned. Gamsley was that these are more global versus that. But I don't. But like you said, Danny, I agree with you. But the panelists are American. They're not thinking like that.
They've got some people, like they've got Famitsu and they've got some UK people in there voting, but it is primarily an American panel.
Yeah, I would think. That's it. That's a little weird. Pyro says, here's a question. What happened to Publisher of the Year? So that's not in here. They don't have Publisher of the Year this year, huh?
I don't remember if did they do that in past years? I honestly don't remember. I don't know if that was them or was someone else who did it.
Yeah, he said last year they had it, I believe. They scrubbed it.
Yeah. Well, this year it would have been Sega, like for sure.
Yeah. Gamsley said they have a ton of Asian judges this time around. Maybe that's the case there.
Maybe.
Let's see.
But Asia actually,
Sega would have won for sure.
Depending on which part of Asia, like Japan, unironically, for some reason, does have a fairly sizable American football fan base.
Yeah, that's true. China, he says. China. Yeah, no, Sega 100% would have or should have won at least or been nominated for Publisher of the Year for sure. I agree with you, Pyro. Let's see. Get Best RPG. Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that didn't do it
was a
for
weak
me.
year for RPGs, I think.
That didn't do it for me. I'll tell you that. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, obviously Final Fantasy Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, which a lot of people felt should have been in the Game of the Year category, and Metaphor ReFantazio. This is actually pretty solid, this listing here. Dragon's Dogma 2 is like the only one that's like,
Yeah, I think. Well, no, Shadow of the Erd Tree it's a DLC.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be anywhere. That should not be nominated for any category. We shouldn't be talking about Elden Ring for the second year. That's nonsense.
I'm in agreement.
So that shouldn't be. Dragon's Dogma can be here, sure. If this is a year where we're doubling down that we're allowed to put re-releases of old games in here, then put Persona 3 Retold or Reloaded on here. Put that in there.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. The reviews for Veilguard were relatively high. I didn't care about it. I don't think I'm going to end up liking it by the end of it. But that could be in here. You know, it wasn't a particularly strong year for RPGs, but why? There were more that came out that deserve this spot over a DLC.
Listen, I'm in agreement with you there. I would give it some leeway with it being Best RPG just because it's not Game of the Year. For me, Game of the Year has to be for that game that came out, specifically new games that came out this year.
Yeah, I would be more lenient for it.
Game. Yeah.
But still no.
Yeah.
That's no. Just no. It's a DLC. We've never really recognized DLC before this year. If them doing it this year to me says oh, there just weren't a lot of games that came out this year, which is true. Like this was a relatively weak year in comparison to previous years of like big, huge games that really blew up. But like this is embarrassing.
Yeah. Gamsley, I guess Gamsley liked Dragon's Dogma 2. He says if I Dragon's Dogma 2 one more time, he's going to hop on the panel and karate chop me with his gimp hand, he says. And he says both are gimp.
Both are gimp. Oh no. Parentheses, both are gimp.
You a nut.
Is crazy.
Right. We didn't need to know that extra part. He's going, both are gimp. He wants to make sure we understood that. All right, I won't hit it with an I'll hit it with a meh. Is that okay if I hit it with a meh instead, Gamsley? He's a nut. No, I kind of agree with you though. Erdtree, it's tough, man. Just give it its own DLC expansion category and leave it there.
Like, and that's my thing is, right, because the only argument that I've heard against having a best expansion category is like, oh, but there aren't a lot of good expansions every year. And it's like, brother, there were 2 fighting games that came out this year that you want to nominate that are actually new fighting games that came out this year. Right. And we still had that category. Like, also this should be
also
if they're should be reactionary.
They should be reactionary. Also, yeah, if you don't have enough of those games, then I'm sorry, you're just going to be left out, I would say. Maybe that's just the case. Maybe you can give it a special honor like this DLC, special honor,
brother. Like they already won Game of the Year last year. They're fine.
They're good. Yeah, they're not going to be hurting if you don't give it an award. I'm pretty sure they got enough money. They got sales out of the wahoo for this and the main game. They're going to be all right. But also, yeah, if you can't get enough, nominees for that specific, I guess, nomination. Just exit out into the next year until you get enough for whatever. Yeah.
Or like another one that falls victim to this is Best Adaptation. Because Best Adaptation, it's got Fallout and Knuckles, which were 2 relatively, like Fallout was very well received. Knuckles, less so, but still I think was relatively well received. Like a Dragon Yakuza, the Amazon show, from what I understand, was not liked. And so same thing with the Tomb Raider show. And then Arcane that show's not done yet. We're still waiting on episodes for that. How is that nominated?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, I know it's great, but like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
How are you here?
I don't know.
Are we just nominating the first 3 episodes?
Yeah, like
were any episodes out before the cutoff? When was the cutoff exactly?
Yeah. Pyro says, why wasn't Vampire Survivors and Best Ongoing? That's a good point. I mean, hell, Sea of Thieves should have been there, right? I mean, we can go to a few games.
Yeah, it launched on like 2 new platforms this year or something, right?
Yeah, Pal World could be there.
It was one of the best-selling games on PlayStation this year, Sea of Thieves. Why is that not out there?
Yeah, if you can reason out Helldivers 2, and I saw somebody like, Helldivers 2 not being there is one of the best games, and then Everborn was like, he showed an image of Depresso, which was my favorite Pal World, not Pal, by the way. He's like, that beast had the best. Yeah, Pal World was exceptionally took off as far as like it exploded, as we all know on the scene. Like it got tons of press. Everybody was playing it. You saw it on TikTok everywhere. So Helldivers wasn't the only game. Now Helldivers did blow up at that point, but Pale World did too. It did exceptionally well.
And I would actually argue that Helldivers has not done a great job of being ongoing. There's 180 countries that can no longer ongo it.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, okay, Pyro, sure. That was the year
Pyro
before.
Points out that it was 2 years ago. Yeah. I forgot that. I
forgot too.
I forgot that 2023 existed.
I did too, yeah.
Apparently.
I kind of forgot which one won last year, but the point still stands is that it's from an old game, and it's an unfair advantage in general. But we'll get to that in a second. You got Best Action Adventure Game, which is Astro Bot. I don't really see how that
action
should
adventure.
be there.
It's not an action adventure game. It's a platformer, but we don't have a category for that. Like the closest thing that we have to that is family game, I guess. A lot of times that ends up being platformers.
Yeah, I can see Astro Bot being a family game. I don't really see.
I think it is, but it's not. It's definitely not an action adventure.
Yep. Do you got Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown? Yes, absolutely. Loved it. Should be there. To me, Prince of Persia should have been in the Game of the Year nominee list, but whatever. Silent Hill 2. You have Star Wars Outlaws. I know that's not going to win anything. And The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. That is tricky because they love them some Nintendo. And since it's not in the
Yeah.
Game of the Year list, they might try to give it the win here.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I don't know, the Nintendo, a lot of them anyway that came out this year, Nintendo games, have been met like with kind of like meh. Like Echoes of Wisdom was kind of middling in terms of what I heard about it, and same thing with Princess Peach Showtime, and same thing with Brothership, Mario and Luigi. Like all three of those games that came out this year, people were like, yeah, they're fine, yeah.
And that's what Zelda for me. I played a good amount of it. I probably have about 40 hours or so inside of Echoes of Wisdom. It definitely did not deserve Game of the Year nomination, rather, in my opinion. It's not a bad game. It's just not a Game of the Year game. So I can see them, though, trying to etch this and give it a win somewhere. But it is something that we don't see a Nintendo mainstay in the Game of the Year list. I will say that. Now you have best action. It's kind of different. Best action game. Black Myth Wukong. Excellent. Should be there for sure. Call of Duty. I don't really think Call of Duty should be on this. I don't know.
I think having best action game and best action adventure game is stupid.
It kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah.
Those categories should either be named something different that makes more sense to what they actually are, or one of them should not exist.
No, I agree. So rename it to something else, because again, this is like, it's kind of semantics. This is like basically the same thing, more or less. I guess they put the adventure part. I guess you are adventuring.
Yeah, like best action game says for the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat. So if it's focused primarily on combat, call it like best combat direction or something, right? And if it's best action adventure says for the best action/adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. So that's just like, sure, call that one action adventure. Go for it. Sure, that's fine. I guess.
So for this, they have Black Myth Wukong, which I agree with. Black Ops 6 is kind of like, okay, I guess. Helldivers 2. So I'm not mad at any of these on this list here. All of these are fitting, and I've played all except, what is that? Warhammer. Space Marine 2, which I got to get on soon. That's the only one I didn't play, but I've heard nothing but praise for that. So I know it deserves to be there.
Yeah, it's good. I don't necessarily think it's like Game of the Year good, but it's good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think specific, like the combat of it is like pretty clunky, so it's weird that this is the one that it was nominated for, but but it is really fun. Like I'm glad that it's getting recognized for something.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it does unfortunately shine a light on how weak this year was, but that's fine.
Yeah, I can see that. I think out of all of these, I would say Stellar Blade and Black Myth were the best pure action games for me. Just pure visceral action. Those had me the most hyped when it comes to that type of stuff.
I mean, Black Ops, Helldivers, and Warhammer, like those would be in the shooter category if that existed. Which should honestly, like that's the one genre that there is 7,000 of that release every year. So I don't know why that's
a good point.
One genre that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want it to just
go to Call of Duty every year. Pretty much. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But like they have best family game, and that goes to Nintendo every year.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
But they have to kowtow to Nintendo, so that's okay for them.
Yeah, no, we can't let the company that has focused its entire life on making good shooters be recognized for making good shooters. That would be absolutely unheard of.
So they have best mobile, and I think I'm pretty sure
on that one.
I don't either, but I know I'm pretty sure Balatro is going to get this one. If it's nominated for Game of the Year, I'm almost imagining that best mobile is about to get taken by it too.
I mean, I would give it to Pokemon TCG Pocket because it's the only one here that I care about.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that is Nintendo. So
that's true.
They could, you know.
That's true. And I keep hearing people online being like, "Wuthering Waves is just a better Genshin Impact," and then I see like the gameplay of Wuthering Waves, and I'm like, it's the same game. Like it's like fucking identical. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just another rip-off gacha game trying to get your money. Like what are we talking about?
Yeah, those games do nothing. It's like, I don't know. It's like playing a MOBA or something for me. I don't care for MOBAs. I don't care for those types of gacha games. Those that don't do it for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed Genshin well enough, I guess, but like obviously I didn't stick with it.
Yeah, I'm particular. Even Fortnite, it's just not for me. Like I just like, I don't want to just run around aimlessly all day shooting at people. I don't know. But that's just me. Best debut indie game. You have Animal Will, which I've heard nothing but praise about. Balatro, which I've heard nothing but praise. Manor Lords. I've heard some good things about that. Pacific Drive and the Plucky Squire. Now, I enjoyed the Plucky Squire. I don't think that it's going to win this. Again, you have Animal Will there and Balatro, so both of those are exceptional.
I think it needs to go to Animal Well.
Yeah, I've heard nothing
I
but
know that
praise
people are
for it.
like high on Balatro, but
Yeah.
I've played Balatro and it's kind of nothing. Like I'm sorry, it's nothing. Like if you compare this to even recent card games, like if you compare this to Inscription, it is a fool's gambit trying to say it holds a candle to that game.
Yeah.
So
Grace said, "Who's camel towing to who?" I said, "Cow toe, not camel towing."
I don't know. The Stellar Blade cast might be
Yeah.
camel towing a little bit.
Yeah, see,
That's
Mike.
what that game was for. It was for Gooners and Coomers.
Gooners and Coomers. Hell, shit. I don't know which category I fit into them, but I was in it. They got some new photo mode and stuff like that they added.
Yeah, I bet I know where that camera's pointing.
Oh yeah, 100%. But she karate kicks it away from you once some gooner try to go like under the skirt. She karate
That's
kicks
cute.
it back. That's pretty cool. I like that. But
That's I mean,
it goes to show some of the depravity that some of these gamers have. Though.
I think
like,
it's funny
not
that they.
damn serious.
I mean, they knew. Like, it's funny that the people making the game knew. They're like,
they knew.
look, we put this photo mode in, and we know what you're gonna do with it.
I can see some ridiculous incel right now. Like, well, they
Mentioned
removed
Gambit and cards in the
Right.
same sentence. He about to make a name for himself. Yo, Donnie, you.
What did he say?
He said he mentioned Gambit and cards in the same sentence. I'm about to make a name for myself.
Right. Oh, about to make a name for myself. Yeah.
Ugh.
We got Best Independent Animal Will is in this as well as Balatro. You got
Yeah.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I've heard good things about that one. Lorelei and the
I
Laser
have
Eyes.
not heard of that game until like these nominations started coming in.
Yeah.
Genuinely have no idea what that game is.
I heard about it. I looked it up too. That one is like you being on Steam. I see a lot of these, so that's the weird thing, I guess, now lately for me. But I did hear something about it. Never. I have to play that. I know. Shout out to my brother, our brother Aaron. He was posting about that in our Discord. It looks really beautiful. It looks beautiful. I do want to get it. I actually will get it eventually. It looks really nice. And UFO 50. That's the only one I don't know.
It's a collection of like small games.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I have to look into it. Listen, I love independent games, so I'm all for the indie love.
Yeah.
Animal Will is so weird to me because it looks like it could be interesting. It just looks like, am I just jumping around with like what looks to be a poo? I don't know. But
Yeah, dude. You don't like poo games?
yeah, you got the gacha games. There you got poo games.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, best community support skipping, best ongoing. We kind of spoke
Yeah.
on that. I feel like all of these except maybe Helldivers 2 should be replaced by something else.
I feel like Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 should be in best community support because they're really good at talking to their fan base, but they're not good at doing anything with their fan base. So I don't think Helldivers 2 should be in here.
Yeah.
Fortnite, sure, whatever.
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 14, I don't know anything about. Diablo 4, they put out that expansion this year.
Yeah, did.
Destiny 2 died this year. So Helldivers and Destiny to me are the two that should not
Destiny
be here.
died.
Destiny died this year. It's not ongoing anywhere. It's ongoing to the grave.
It's just there's none going, as somebody else said before. So yeah, Destiny 2 and Helldivers 2 seem to be the outliers because I've seen other people say Destiny 2 as well. And again, they keep snubbing Sea of Thieves. I don't know why. And I used to doubt it too.
Well, I know why.
Well, yeah. To be fair, yeah, I guess I do know why.
Best on like the fact that World of Warcraft isn't in here, the fact that War Zone.
Yeah, why it's not
isn't in
WoW?
here,
WoW should be in there. Yeah, that's a good point. WoW, anything like Final Fantasy 14 and WoW, both should probably be there.
WoW
Right.
put out like whatever
The
expansion
30th
this year,
anniversary
fine and play
thing and
it,
all that.
but,
Yeah,
like, the expansion that came out this year was like one of the better received expansion. Like
it was.
for
Yeah,
a long time.
it really
The
was.
player base of like that expansion came out and the WoW fan base was like nature is healing. Like
Yeah.
it was a very big deal for them. So
They
I don't
were.
know why. If there was ever a year where WoW should be nominated, it was this one.
100%. And I got a buddy who's a big WoW fan. Hell, I haven't barely get a chance to speak with him because he's been so enamored with the series now. And he's been talking about how well they've done. And he's a pretty tough critic when it comes to that. And
Yeah.
he's talking about how well they did with WoW lately. And he's loving a lot of the changes and additions. I know Jez talks about it all the time. Jez Corden. and how they added the
absolutely.
a home mode. You could build your like a house and all of that, a base and all of that. So they got a lot of different nice new additions and such. So yeah, WoW should be. I don't see why WoW is not there. That's a good point, actually. Fortnite. What did you say? Fortnite is Snoop Dogg greater than. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder who could read. I think. I wanna say.
They just put Snoop Dogg in Fortnite. Is that anything?
I guess that's what it is. I don't know, but Fortnite could possibly take this one. I don't know. That can go either. I don't care for as much for that category, but I just feel like
No, it's gonna go to Helldivers and it's not gonna deserve it.
you think so.
I guarantee it. Yeah, I pretty much guarantee it's gonna go to Helldivers and everyone's gonna be like, really? 180 countries can no longer play this game, and you think that it's ongoing well?
Oh, good point. Games for Impact. Now the Games for Impact, because people were asking me about it, like, what does that really mean? A Games for Impact? It's typically for though, like for minority or what's the word I want to use?
It's games where the purpose of them is to have a message.
That too, but it's also for reaching the message of like how do I put this? For marginalized groups in situations, right? So like you will see a lot of games like what's the name of that damn game with Chloe and what's her name?
Oh, Life is Strange.
Life is Strange.
I mean,
You'll see stuff like Life is
nominated
Strange.
for it. So
Oh, is it?
Strange
Yeah, it's in
Double
there. What the
Exposure
hell?
is
I could have
nominated.
just looked at the list.
It's right there.
Yeah, so like Life is Strange would be there, for instance. Obviously, you can see Neva there. You can see Tales of Kanzara. So it kind of delves into, I guess, uplifting marginalized groups and voices more so. That's what it seems to be to me. And if you look at the listing, you can kind of see it. So Tales of Kanzara, Closer. What's this? Closer Distance? I never heard of that.
I have no idea what that is. Never heard of it in my life.
Me either. Hellblade 2, and that obviously would deal with mental issues, things of that nature. So that you can see how they kind of,
Neva is a game about like environmentalism and grief. Tales of Kanzara also a game about grief.
Yep.
You know, like there's
true.
So
yeah, all those things. Also, 2 in Deepa. I've never heard of that one either. So I gotta look into some.
yeah,
of
I'm
these.
not familiar. This is to me like when you look at the Oscars and it's like best foreign film, and I'm like, I don't know what these are. I'm sure they're good.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Whenever they get to the foreign part, I'm like, I don't know.
I'm like, who?
Right.
Where do I watch these?
The Piano
released in my
Man
country.
World or something. You're like, what?
Yeah.
The Piano Eater. You're like, who? I don't know that. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
good luck to those cados and the nominees. And that you have innovation and accessibility. You got Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veil Guard, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've only played 2 of these 5, Dragon Age and Black Ops, and I don't know what either of them do for accessibility. But okay.
I think it must be accessible. I wonder if no. I was gonna say, is accessibility, would it also count like inclusion and all that? I don't think that would be the case, right?
That's with Impact. If anything,
that would be Impact, right? Yeah.
What it says on innovation and accessibility is recognizing software and/or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. So it's about like, oh, they put in a really good
new features and stuff to make it
like
easier for people.
Color blindness mode,
right?
Or
you got
this
this nice control mode that you can do this. Yeah. I don't know what the heck those games. I don't know, honestly. I don't know what Veilguard adds either.
Yeah. I've never had to go through those options, so I genuinely don't know. I guess the people who need to use them presumably are the ones who had opinions on this, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Good luck to everybody there. I don't know. Best performance. Now this is interesting. We have Brianna White. Brianna White from Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I do not know who the person voiced.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't put what character they are on here.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that either. Let me look them up. It must be like Aerith. Not Aerith. What's her name?
It's either Aerith or Tifa, but it's probably Aerith.
Yeah. Brianna White. Oh, she's a cutie too. She looks like it's
Aerith. She's Aerith.
Is Aerith. She looks like a girl that Ashley from Resident Evil 4 a little bit. If you look her up.
Maybe.
She's a cutie. I see you. All right. Brianna, I see you.
Hannah Tell, I don't know who that is either. She's from Life is Strange Double Exposure. I don't know. Is that Max, maybe?
Hannah Tell. Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like that's Max. So that's the main character of Life is Strange.
Yeah, she does Max. Max Caulfield. Hannah Tail. That's a funny name right there. Hannah Tail. Humberly Gonzalez. I'm pretty sure that's the voice of the main character. What's her name?
I don't.
Outlaws.
Kate, something like that.
I can't think of her name. She's the main voice for her for sure. Luke Roberts, obviously the main character for that.
Yeah.
And Melina Juergens, obviously, as Senua. If I had to guess, it would be to Melina Juergens.
It should go to Melina.
Yeah.
But we know who this panel is.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know. The only person here, because I haven't played Life is Strange yet, so I don't know how Hannah did. Silent Hill, I don't necessarily think he did a great job. I didn't play Outlaws, so I don't know. The only person here who I know should not be here is probably Brianna White. Is like, I'm sorry, I like the the Final Fantasy VII remakes, but the acting in them is not good. Like, like they're very stiff, very like it's like Kingdom Hearts, like very anime, like it's just not good. Like there's no amount of voice acting in either of the games that I experienced where I was like oh wow,
like now
what an
it was
emotional
nice,
moment.
right?
Yeah,
I feel you on that 100%.
It felt like a cartoon, you know.
Yeah, I think Juergens has this on lock. Shout out to Melina.
It better be.
We'll see. We'll see what they do. Best audio design: Astro Bot, Call of Duty, Final Fantasy, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Okay, I know Hellblade deserves to be there. Really crazy audio design in that game. Black Ops 6, I haven't played enough to say. Astro Bot is pretty solid, although I know you I know you would disagree with that because of the controller and all of that noise coming from it.
Yeah, I'm not giving audio design to a game that plays speak and spell sounds out of the controller and it sounds like it's coming through a tin can. Like, I'm sorry. I also think the soundtrack is shit, just while we're not on the topic. But I'm sure it's also is it nominated for best soundtrack? Scored music? Of course it is. Yeah, that soundtrack sucks ass. It's one of the worst soundtracks I've heard in multiple years. You listen to it, and there are 80 songs on that track list. I looked it up. There's really only like 6, and then there's those same 6 songs played on different instruments. And they go, "Isn't this cute?" And I'm like, "No, no, it's not actually. This soundtrack is ass."
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
yeah, I don't know. I hate it. I really genuinely hate it. Like every time that I was walking around that game, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. But we do, like, you are more stricter than I am again when it comes to that.
I don't know. I just don't like annoying things.
Yeah,
you know.
I get it.
Like it's the repetition of like, because so many of the songs in the Astro Bot soundtrack are also like 6-second loops, and you're like, oh, it's that part again. Wait, and there it is again.
Yeah, I get it. It's funny though. I had my nephew play it a few times, and it did annoy me after that. When I played it, it was okay, but when he was doing it, and I was like doing something else. I was like, turn it down.
Yeah.
And even then, you could hear the controller like noises and stuff. It's like, all right. I'm like, all right. I was like, okay, just wrap it up because this is it's grinding my gears, as they would say. I definitely, outside of playing it, it definitely got me, but playing it, I wasn't too bothered by it. Best score in music: Astro Bot again, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, which absolutely deserves it. Silent Hill 2 and Stellar Blade.
Honestly, Metaphor should probably win. I'm surprised there isn't a Nintendo game on here. They usually have really good soundtracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
I don't know. I have no idea what the Stellar Blade soundtrack is like. The Silent Hill one's fine. Rebirth is fine. So like those ones should all be here.
Mm-hmm.
Astro Bot, what are we doing?
What are we doing? He like, get out of here.
Why are we here? I'm sick of seeing you.
Best art direction: they're trying to force Astro Bot. Like, come on.
Everything will go to Astro Bot.
That's
Astro Bot.
Insane. Why is it nominated for all these? Come on. Whatever. Astro Bot, Black Myth, Wukong, that deserves to be there for sure. Erdtree, absolutely crazy design. It deserves art direction. just shouldn't be here for this year. But whatever. Metaphor ReFantazio, absolutely love their art direction too. Didn't think the game was beautiful as far as how they applied visuals in the game, but the art style is definitely great. Never. So yeah, some of those are decent. Tree is to stand out again. It's just like, why are you putting these in these categories?
Elden Ring should not be here. Astro Bot is fine, whatever. The fact that Hellblade isn't here is an absolute just
that's a good point. Yeah, I could see Hellblade being here.
It's literally, it is art direction the video game.
Yeah,
the fact that it's not in here and we put a DLC from a 2-year-old game.
Yeah,
it's offensive, honestly.
100% agree. Yeah, Hellblade should absolutely be in best art direction. We got best narrative. Let's see what they put here. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Okay, they got it here. We got some Like a Dragon love for those in the chat.
We did it.
Metaphor
Like a Dragon mention.
There you go. And a Hellblade 2 and Silent Hill 2. Best narrative. I can tell you right now, ReFantazio has a great narrative. So I love that one. Hellblade 2 had a solid narrative. It didn't blow me away, but it was solid.
I am surprised to see it nominated here because so many of the podcasts I listen to from the people who get to vote on this thing were like, I just don't understand the narrative. I don't go to it, but
they
were
weren't they?
Here instead of places where they were positive on it. I don't understand.
That actually is a good point. Yeah, they were pretty negative when it came to that. I didn't think it's like it blew me away, but I definitely thought it was
good.
Yeah, I thought it was good enough.
I liked it. I thought it was a really good like introspective look on mental illness and specifically like how it affects the people around you.
Yeah,
but it was very heady, and so like I understand that
Yeah, it probably flew over some people's heads.
Fucking Igor over at Kotaku probably didn't understand that, and so like I understand, but I'm surprised that it's here.
Big boss the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Rebirth. I haven't played enough of that to judge that, but I do know that a lot of people said they love the story, so I'll take their words for it. Infinite Wealth, I've heard nothing but love for that, so I know that was pretty well received. ReFantazio, I can definitely speak to that in Hellblade 2, so I know that. Silent Hill 2 is weird for me because it's like, it's just a remake, right? Isn't it the same story?
Guess what? It's the same narrative.
Yeah.
It's the same narrative from
back then, from whatever decade ago. Yeah.
2 or something, 2001.
Yeah. I said decades. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, like that seems odd to have that here. It really does, but whatever.
Again, if remakes are available in here, the fact that Persona 3 Reload is not nominated for anything is
sorry. I'm gonna have to agree with you.
What are we doing?
Yeah, this is the lack of consistency that's the problem.
Like if we're gonna include remakes, include all of them. Like include the ones that deserve to be in the places where they are.
Yeah, 100%.
Instead of, I don't know.
Best adaptation. This is interesting. Arcane. This season has not been as great to season 1 to me. Sadly, but it still is good. You got Fallout, you got Knuckles. Obviously, I know Everborn is probably salivating at Knuckles being here. You have Like a Dragon, Yakuza TV show, Tomb Raider: Legend of Lara Croft. I haven't seen Tomb Raider, Yakuza.
Both of those were received like pretty bad.
Yeah, I figured Yakuza was gonna be. I said it. I thought it was gonna be like,
Yakuza and Tomb Raider were not received well. Fallout was
exceptionally received.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, and then Arcane, like I said before, like isn't out. Like it's not done yet. So I don't know how we're nominating it. This is another one of those examples of just like, why is there, like, do we even have enough things that came out this year that are worth being nominated in this category to justify having this category?
Yeah.
Because like you had to grab a TV show that is not done airing yet in order to not nominate Borderlands. Like that's where we're at.
And
Borderlands was trash.
Yeah, Borderlands wasn't good at all. I knew that was going to be trash though. But
yeah,
Fallout, they did a great job with Fallout. So I'm not mad at this being here at all. Arcane,
Fallout needs to win.
I hope it does. It deserves it. Hell,
if it goes to Arcane, like that might be deserved because I'm sure the show will end up being really good by the time it's done. But the fact that it's nominated, the fact that it is available to be nominated does not make sense.
Yeah, that is kind of odd. I will admit, because even the last final 3 episodes don't even air until this weekend. But
yeah, they're not. The show is not done.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
We've nominated half of a show.
Yeah, it's a little odd, I will say. Fallout is clearly the standout. It should win it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Best game direction. Astro Bot again. Balatro.
Ugh.
Black Myth Wukong. Elder Ring, rather. Shadow of the Erd Tree. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And Metaphor ReFantazio.
It's
Yeah,
it like most years is just the exact same thing as Game of the Year.
pretty much. Exactly.
They just copied and pasted Game of the Year to Best Game Direction because Best Game Direction is such like a nebulous thing that means nothing because it's like, oh well, is that about the cinematography? Is that about the direction of the gameplay? Is that about it? There's no answer. Like it's such a broad thing that people just go, oh, that also kind of just means the best game.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so
That's
it's
what it
just a
seems to
pointless
be.
double up.
Yep. I would say, so I was talking to some fellas about this too, and Balatro came up, and I'm like, well, why is Balatro in game direction? It's not like it has a story or something or whatever. Hell, Astro Bot doesn't really have that either much. It's small.
Astro Bot has nothing.
Yeah.
Astro Bot should not be nominated for anything.
It's
a
a-
family game.
It's a very thin narrative or plot, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
Not even
the
narrative.
plot is, hey, look, it's PlayStation. Better kneel down in front of it.
We got the green space monster that steals your HD or whatever and all that. Like, oh, you got to get
Yeah.
your stuff back and bring back all the bots. Like, it's got a very thin plot, right? But you expect that for these types of games, right? But
Yeah, I
that's why it
guess.
seems odd to see that in here. But again, you're right. It's just a copy paste of Game of the Year. But yeah. So Balatro, though, I was enlightened about that. Though it's pretty innovative on how it approaches. It's more of a rogue-like in card form, I was told. So I do want to get it and try it and play it, just to form a full opinion of it, because I feel like it's getting more love than maybe it deserves. But at the same time, I can't say that I haven't
Balatro.
played it.
I've played a little bit of it, and it's definitely getting more love than it deserves. Like, it's fine. It's a fine game, but it's not like
A
I don't
game
know.
of the year
Like-
worthy game. Do you think it's that?
Yeah, I mean, like, because it's in this and it's in the Game of the Year conversation, and I think there is a slot on Game of the Year that is always for some reason like dedicated to
To the
the token
indie
indie that'll
darling.
never win.
Right.
So it's honestly kind of a wasted slot, but like as long as you're consistently putting an indie game in there, I think there's personally better indie games. I think Nevo is a better game and should probably be in there. I think like I don't know if you extend it to just like smaller games, then I think like Prince of Persia should be in there.
Mhm.
Over Balatro, but here we are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I'm still salty about Prince of Persia not really getting what one nomination, and I felt like that would have better been something for Game of the Year. Personally, I just think
Yeah.
it's criminal how slept on that game was, even from sales perspective, that it didn't do as well as it should have. Just a great game that was just ignored. Some of it being their fault too, to be fair, but how they put it out there. But like, damn, that game deserves so much more love. And Pyro says the Terminator anime. I heard the Terminator anime was really good, so he says he would like to put that out there as far as being better than Tomb Raider. He said he knows it's not a game adaptation, but he just wants to mention it. No, yeah, I've heard good things about
That's
that.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
We
said,
have to Game of the Year yet?
we're about to move to it right now. It says AJH says, to be fair, IGN etc. probably saw the whole show early. That's how they were able to manage to give Penguin a 5. He says a fucking 5, but yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you might be right about that. So, Game of the Year, final topic
that's
for this
fine.
one. And you see old Astro there smiling.
Yeah.
at you.
Oh, they pointed the pointed to the crowd, said this is gonna be a home run. It's gonna be Astro Bot.
Yeah. You got Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth, Elder Erd Tree, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. I have rounded my Game of the Year finally to Metaphor ReFantazio.
Metaphor. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be pretty common for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten too much into it yet because I've been trying desperately to make Veilguard end. But
Yeah.
from what I have played, it's really really good.
It is really good. I end
So
up
I'm
loving
excited
it a
for that.
lot. Now, Black Myth, you heard me praise that so much before, but if once I had to really home in on like what things that really made me love it, it's the action, right? It's the combat, it's the art design, it's the world that you're in. It kind of makes you feel like, oh man, they really captured the aesthetics of this mythical lore. I thought they did really exceptionally well there. But if I had to go by like story and all of that, it's not a bad plot or narrative, it's just not anywhere near as strong as something like Metaphor. Metaphor is exceptionally well as far as the narrative goes. It tells a really solid story, solid characters that are around you in a world, and the whole plot of the world and everything like that. Like all of that is really well done to me. I love so much about it. I didn't think anything else was going to really take the place of Black Myth for me, and I was kind of staunchly defiant until I got to Metaphor. And mind you, I don't really play turn-based action games RPGs like that. Really, I don't really do that. And I this is my first Atlas game. Loved it. Now I got to go back and play the Persona 3s and 5s. Hell, I just found out the Persona 5 Strikers is the Mushu type of game, like a Dynasty Warriors. So like,
oh, Muso, yeah.
I didn't know that was that type of game. But so I'm excuse me, I'm all in now when it comes to Atlas. Like this game really turned me around as far as appreciating them in Studio Zero and everything. So yeah, much love. What would you say out of this list would be your game of the year?
I mean, it's probably gonna end up being Metaphor once I play it. I think Metaphor is the only one that I look on at this list and I'm like, yeah, that would probably be here on a normal year. You know what I mean? Like on a year that had as many good games as a year typically has, I think that's the only one that would make the cut. Maybe Astro Bot, just because there had to be a PlayStation one, and they didn't put anything else that still exists. So I guess Astro Bot had to be here, even though it's ass.
But it's Astro Bot.
It's Astro Bot. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things where, like, I don't know. The fact that Hellblade isn't nominated for Game of the Year is it's an injustice. Full stop. Like, I understand. Like, okay, if the Game of the Year is being thought of in the same way as like Best Picture at the Oscars, where it's not necessarily like game that sold the best or like game that was played by the most people or whatever, right? Because if it was, then like where's Black Ops 6, quite frankly, or where's Helldivers even? But it's being thought of in a way that it is for Best Picture, where it's like, this is something that really pushes the medium as an art form. This is something that does something unique and creative. This is something that pushes forward the medium, does something unique and special. Hellblade 2 should be on this. Hellblade 2, I understand that it's not everybody's cup of tea, but also like look at the Best Pictures nominations, and I bet most people are like, would be like, where's Fast and Furious? You know what I mean?
Right.
Hellblade 2 is a game that tells a very good story of like an introspective story that's about dealing with mental illness and dealing with grief, and what does it mean to the people around you, and like how do they help you, how do they lift you up, how do you explain to them what you're going through. Like, there's a lot in that story that most people probably aren't going to pick up on, because you have to like have experienced that, I think, to pick up on it. And so like I understand that it's not a story that's going to speak to most people. That's fine. For the people who it does speak to, it's going to speak to very powerfully. And then on top of that, you look at what it does to the industry just from a technological standpoint. What it does for the industry in terms of motion capture, what it does in terms of lighting and texture and just visual fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of the most beautiful looking games that has ever existed and will probably exist for a very long time. The fact that game is being snubbed from Game of the Year so that we can instead get a DLC, a remake, a card game, and a game that sucks PlayStation's dick is ridiculous. Like, that is this is the final nail in the coffin for me for Game Awards. Like, I'm not going to be watching it this year or probably ever again. I think that this is this isn't the only. I'm not like, oh my god, Hellblade wasn't nominated, so and therefore fuck Jeff Keighley. But like, this is a track record of like multiple years of just like completely not understanding anything, and like every category has something wrong with it. And it's like there was one year where it's like games that aren't fighting games are being nominated for fighting games, and games that aren't indie games are being nominated as indie games. And it's like the panel voting on this doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. The people like receiving those nominations are giving them no direction of how to handle it. Like it's an absolute mess. And on top of that, it is a 4 or 5 hour long commercial spree where they don't even show you most of the awards being nominated. These awards mean nothing. Like there's a bunch of people who watch the Game Awards. They're not watching for the awards. They don't care about the awards. Jeff Keighley doesn't care about the awards. You can prove that he doesn't care about the awards by the way that he tells them to wrap it up after 10 seconds. Like the Game Awards are a fucking joke. And I think that it's time that people stop pretending that it's anything else. If you are one of those people who still continues to watch the Game Awards, that's fine. But if you're one of the people who continues to watch the Game Awards and you're like, wow, Jeff Keighley is really elevating our industry. He's doing great things for it. I'm so glad that he's giving these games a platform. No, he's not. He is showing up to collect money. He's selling tickets to the theater so that he can make money. He is selling ad space between the awards so that he can make money. He is charging the publishers to show their games there to make money. The only thing that Jeff Keighley now or has ever cared about is lining his own pocket. That's why he was the Dorito Pope. That's why he is the man who he is. And the fact that he has managed to raise this thing to be watched by like 100 million people is a really great thing for him and his ability to make money, but let's not pretend that it's something more than it is. It has never been about celebrating the best in video games. Since day one, the only difference between now and like the Spike years is that now the money goes to a smaller group of people. Like the Game Awards are an absolute joke, and I will not be watching it. I will encourage other people to not watch it, because the best way to view this is to do anything else and then just see the reveals on Twitter later. Like, save yourself the time. Why am I going to spend 5 hours watching the same commercial 7 times for the next season of Fortnite or whatever that they always do? Or seeing what skeleton celebrity who's not involved in video games they want to roll out to like say a pre-written joke about, oh, my kid played Fortnite one time. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, why are we this would be like if it was like, hey, we love the Super Bowl, but then the entire Super Bowl was just a Taylor Swift concert. And like in between sets, occasionally they would do like a couple downs. Like that's what this is. And I don't know why we pretend it's anything more. I don't know why we as a fan base pretend ever that it's anything more. If I was a person, an advertiser for a major video game company, I would not even bother to advertise here, because the people who are watching this, yes, it's 100 million people. That's great. But A, probably that's multiple people watching it multiple times so that they can like do it for content or whatever. And B, the people who are watching the Game Awards already know about your game. You don't need to advertise to them. You're not reaching a new audience there. You're wasting your time and money. You would be better served doing targeted ads on YouTube or like anything else. You would be better served and spend less money and better support your own industry. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I hate it. Anyway, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah, hey, that was a classical Danny rant right there, folks. I hope you all enjoyed that. No, but you spit a lot of game there, man. You spit a lot of truth. I'm kind of the mind of it is what it is. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. We know what ultimately this is Jeff's, his way of kind of lining his pockets. I don't want to demonize the man too much and say that he doesn't care or anything like that about the industry. I'm sure he does in his own way, right? But
I don't think he does.
But maybe it's a fact that
I think he cares about PlayStation and Kojima and everything else.
Yeah, to be fair, like maybe he has a more of a focus on those things, and those matter to him more. But I will give him his credit in elevating the I don't want to say the sport, but elevating the genre, the form of media, whatever, to better market it out to people, because I think we tend to forget how gaming was such a it still is niche in some ways, but it was such a niche thing in that it was unaccepted and people will mock you for it. Now it's just a typical everyday thing. Now
yeah,
it's accepted.
but it's not Jeff who did that.
True, of course.
I don't think.
I would just
I don't
say
think
he
Jeff had
added to
anything to do. I think he is benefiting off of other people's work.
Yeah, well, sure he is, right? At the end of the day, he's benefiting. But I think I would give him some credit on helping to elevate it to where it's become more accepted, right? Because like you said, he has so many eyes on him watching. That doesn't happen by happenstance. So he's definitely did something to bring people to watch it. However terribly he might handle it, it definitely does draw a lot of people, right? You know what I mean? Even if it's repeat watchings, like it's clearly he gets millions of eyes on him. So he's doing something that's right in that way, and not necessarily right, but something that works. But again, I don't know him, so I don't want to speak on him in that way. I definitely know he's biased. I definitely know he has a hard on for Kojima and Sony and blowing into controllers and all that good stuff. But just speaking on the game of the year itself, the problem I have is this, and I said this on Tuesday on Boom's podcast, is, for instance, Balatro. And I'm not trying to tear down Balatro. I know Dun Otaku would be at my throat if I tear it down, but Erdtree, for one, shouldn't be here. We all agree there, most of us at least. I do still see a lot of the games journalists or media still like Erdtree deserves to be here, and no, it doesn't. And the reason why it doesn't is because it's not only super biased, it's going to bias the panel, because we already know how well received Elden Ring itself was. It's coasting off of that love, and it turned in a great game too. Yeah, that's a tough combination to overcome, especially for some of these games that are not as big, right? The Balatros and Astro Bots. If Astro Bot wasn't tied to Sony, it'd be looking like that's not fair to them. But since so many of them already crowned Astro Bot Game of the Year before we even got to like some of these other games, I am almost inclined to believe that fix is in. No pun intended. And, you know, that Astro Bot might just get this. And how much of a travesty would that be when you have these other games on the list? To me, it's such an offense. And I thought I enjoyed Astro Bot a lot. You heard me praise it. I even gave it a 9 out of 10. But therein lies the rub, because I had to learn not all scores are created equal. And I used to think that was a thing. I remember somebody telling me that, like, well, you gave this a 9. Why did you give that this? And they're like, well, just because I gave that doesn't mean this, because I forget how they explained it. But I understood it now. I understand it now, because just because I give Astro Bot a 9 for what it did for me and for what it did in its respective genre does not mean it's anywhere near as good as a 9 for Metaphor. You see what I mean? It's not touching it. It's nowhere in its stratosphere. So it's not all scores are created equal, and that's something I had to learn. It's when I started doing this reviewing process of myself, and it's like, yeah, gave it that, but did that? And I almost doubted myself and said, did it really deserve a 9? And maybe it didn't deserve a 9, but it definitely landed well for me, right? And that's why I gave it that. I was pleased by what I played, but it damn sure isn't a 9 in the same vein as a Metaphor ReFantazio's 9.
Yeah, absolutely not.
You see, so that's the problem I have. And I look at Balatro, and this was my thing. Erdtree already should not be here. Give it its own separate category like DLC expansion. Even if it is not necessarily a category, just say we're honoring this game as the best, edition, whatever. If they can find something to give it something, if they really need to do that, whatever. Balatro being here, being this, like you said, this random, not necessarily random, but this game, this indie darling that they have to prop
It's filling
up.
the indie slot.
That's exactly what it is.
We want to make sure that there's representation of an indie game in here, even though it won't win. I don't know if an indie game has ever won. I guess technically It Takes Two.
It Takes Two is about the only one.
Yeah,
that I can think of, at least in more modern times. But like, just my thing for Balatro is like,
I guess strictly speaking, you could say that Baldur's Gate is an indie game. I wouldn't, but like they are an independent publisher.
Yeah, you could stretch it and be special about it, but like,
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but like, this is my problem. They put Balatro up here, and it's a niche card game. At the end of the day, no matter if it's indie or whatever, because I know people are like, yeah, but it's indie, so that's why. Yeah, that's nice. However, at the end of the day, it's a niche card game. You're gonna have to explain to me why Forza Horizon 5 was snubbed.
Right.
You see,
Can't do that.
see, that's the problem I have. And if you start looking at, if I really started looking at other past things, I'm like, well, why was this not there then this year?
Yeah.
So, but Forza is one in particular because I remember that, and it was a big blow up about that. If you remember, like everybody in the community was like, why is Forza not there? And it was,
It should have been there.
it was blatantly a snub because it was so well received. It scored exceptionally well from critics and gamers alike. It broke records as far as engagement. There's no reason Forza shouldn't have been there. Even if you just put it there just to have it there, to recognize it, it should have been there. It was one of the best games of that year, by far. And then they tried to lie. Well, it missed the cutoff date, which is a lie because the cutoff date was the 19th and it released on the 10th of November.
And they had been reviewing it for at least a week before that.
Exactly.
The people who vote on it.
Exactly. So there was no excuse not to include Forza that year. And then
also, wasn't it nominated for like sports racing?
Exactly. You know what? That's right. It was. So they put it. They threw it a little bone somewhere, but it wasn't where it should have been.
It wasn't eligible. It was nominated for a different award. What are you talking about?
Right. See,
it's
like
literally on the list.
And that's the problem I have. So they're wishy-washy and picky and choosy and not consistent. That's the problem, and that's why I can understand 100% what you were saying on why.
It's just nonsense.
Because at the end of the day, because it's like you all are just going to give what you want to give it to anyway, and you probably have all types of biases.
It's meaningless.
It feels like it after a minute, for sure.
I have a fair few friends who work in various games studios across the country, and I've asked, I've talked to them about the Game Awards before. None of them care about it. They're like, if we win, it's cool. If we never get mentioned in it, I don't care.
Damn.
Like the Game Awards is the devs, at least the ones that I know, don't care about the Game Awards at all. It means nothing to them. The only people who it means something to are the publishers who can advertise something there. That's the only people who care. Because it's like, oh, our game won for best sound design. Does that mean I'm gonna get paid more if I'm the sound designer? No. Does it mean I'm gonna get recognition for this? I'm gonna be able to get work easier in future?
Bonus.
No.
Yeah.
Does that mean that when the next line of layoffs come, I'm gonna be any less likely to get laid off? No. It does nothing for them. It is meaningless to the devs. The best thing you can say is maybe they'll be able to go to a bar and get a drink and be happy about it for a day.
Right. Yeah, and
then it'll be right back to grinding 12 hours a day tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's really what it comes down. This obviously I guess means more to us as an audience than it does to them. Hearing that, although of course it is anecdotal, but I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it matters to some of them, right? Some might hear.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, though, it's problematic for a lot of reasons. And again, I'll go further than that. And a shout out to Abdel because he pointed this out. And as much as I love the game, he pointed out, why is Black Myth here with an 81 score when Starfield had an 83, but it wasn't nominated?
Well, because Starfield was an Xbox game.
You see how it becomes problematic?
So it should have. So that's the Xbox tax, right? Where it was reviewed at an 83 or whatever. It probably should have been reviewed at an 88. But in terms of public opinion, in the critics who vote on the Game Awards, it's a 6.
You see,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
and it's also the same reason why Forza didn't get nominated.
Yep. And that's the problem, and that's where it comes
Forza
in.
probably also had against it that it was a racing game, and people just don't vote for genre games in these sort of things often.
And you see, and that's part of the problem, because then we talk about the genres, but then Balatros, here's a card game. So that's why I say it's so many issues that with how they handled this for me.
I guess maybe that one's easier because it's this slot is assigned basically to an indie game, and that was the one of the bigger indie games of the year at least.
I feel
it's I don't know, maybe, but at the same time, then it's okay, well.
Or again, Erdtree
at that
being
point,
here.
Why is Black Ops 6 not nominated for Game of the Year?
That's a good point. Scored exceptionally well, broke recorons, is selling, so
broke all kinds of records. It's one of the it's being hailed as one of the best Call of Duty games of all time, or minimally of the last multiple years.
Yeah.
Why is that not nominated?
So
Where's
true.
that? Why did we get a DLC instead of that?
Agreed. And it's a lot of
Is
problems.
it because it's Call of Duty and people are oh, we don't need to put Call of Duty on there?
Pretty much. Pretty
Like,
much.
is that what it is?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
It's like, okay, well, there weren't that many good games that came out this year.
See,
So
yeah, and that's the thing, man. And even if even if the rationale is, well, Atros, they have to give a little indie love. I think why not just give the games the best games of the year, try to fit them in there. And if you can't, then you can't, right? But just fit the games in there, genre and whatever niche they are in, be damned. It's about the game of the year, not a specific game of the year, specific type of game of the year. It's game of the year. So if it's a racing game, if it deserves it because of how well that racing game is, put it there in game of the year. That's the problem for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't get it. I don't like it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
it's a lot of issues.
I'm looking at my list of all the games that I've beaten this year.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not as many as most years because I think it's been a pretty weak year for video games just in general. So a lot of the games that I have played are ones from like previous years. But like Call of Duty is probably in my top 5, certainly my top 6. Like it would be on my nominations.
Yeah, that's I have to put more time into Call of Duty, but from what I did play, it was pretty good. And again, it's getting universal praise. Like this is like one of the more well-received Call of Duties by far, multiplayer and campaign.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, and granted, I have not played enough of Metaphor yet. I think for me, my game of the year would probably be, or like my nominees would be. I mean, I'll put more Metaphor in there because I think it will be. But then like I don't know, Black Ops, maybe Space Marine. I really like Space Marine. Definitely Hellblade. And then I don't know. At that point, I don't know. Like there's not a ton of other ones that really spoke to me this year.
Yeah. I'm of the mind. I thought this year was pretty decent for games, but I played a lot of different games this year, out expanding past like the offerings of PlayStation or Xbox. And I don't want to bring up PC again, to much to Gray's chagrin, but I've had a chance to play so many more various types of games that it's to kind of open my eyes to things. Hell, I might have to start getting into VR at some point. Like, I play VR titles too, nerd. But yeah, I don't know. Again, guys in the chat, I don't know if you want to put out what you feel is your game of the year, what should get it out of this list. But for me, and clearly for Danny, some of these are problematic, ultimately. But
it's toxic.
Yeah,
I think that it should go to Metaphor. I'm looking at the previous winners of Game of the Year, and I'm noticing a trend that like almost all of them are fantasy based. So based on that trend, I'm gonna say it kind of has to be Metaphor. Because since Jeff took over in 2014, it's been I've accidentally put it out of date somehow. Oh no. Okay. Dragon Age Inquisition fantasy, Witcher 3 fantasy, Overwatch sci-fi, I guess. Zelda Breath of the Wild fantasy, God of War fantasy, Sekiro, I'm gonna call that fantasy. I think it counts. It's like Japanese fantasy. Last of Us Part 2, okay. It Takes Two, Elden Ring fantasy, Baldur's Gate fantasy. So there's like 4 in there that aren't sword and board type games. So I don't know.
It takes
history would dictate.
Baby.
History would dictate. If you're not making a game with swords and magic in it, you probably don't have a great shot.
Gotta look. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's actually true, but I mean,
yeah,
that's what the data would suggest.
Yeah, I should do an analysis and be like, oh, what games made it this time? What types of games? But anyway, listen, we are well past a point of no return, and so
baby,
we got to get going. So we'll skip past the Sony Kadokawa situation.
Yeah, let me just say,
push it for next week, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I'll just say I hope it doesn't go through because I think it would probably destroy anime in the West.
Yeah, I've heard about the monopolization that they're angling for.
Yeah, and they've done a really bad job of distributing anime in the West specifically.
Yeah. You know what? We'll try to remember that. Put that in I guess we'll put that in the news rundown or something next week. Yeah.
I'll keep it on the docket.
Guys in the chat, appreciate you all for being here. We're going to get out of here. If you guys have not done so yet, could you hit the like button before you leave? That goes for our lurkers too. You too matter. Yeah. Danny, tell the good folks where they can find you and what you'll be up to.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter and actually now Blue Sky. I finally made one of those.
Yeah.
At Daniel J. McGee, or you can find me at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McGee, or the first 2 episodes of my Friends Survivor Rewatch podcast have aired, and I am on them. So you can find me over on the Brown Boy Wonders podcast.
The Brown Boy Wonders.
Yeah, it's my friend Abrar. I've known him since high school. It was his like screen name on Xbox and stuff for like years and years. So he just made that the name of the podcast. But don't shorten it because BBW means something else. I will continue to always make fun of him for that. But it's it's a very small new podcast, so it's not the most professional thing in the world, but it's a lot of fun, and I would really appreciate anybody coming by and listen to us talk about season 1 of Survivor if you've got the time.
Nice.
And leave a comment because he needs the help on the engagement.
Shout out to Richard, the Survivor.
Richard Hash, yeah.
As far as myself, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky under that name. I'm going to try to get more active on Blue Sky. It's kind of tough to try to navigate between both. It is more peaceful, less toxic than Twitter, at least for now.
I just found out there's a feature on Blue Sky. It's my new favorite thing.
What's
where people make lists of people who suck ass. You can just block the whole list.
Yeah.
And then as new people get added to the list, it'll automatically block them for you.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
So there's people on Blue Sky whose whole thing is I'm going to go and find the people who suck and put them on this list so that you don't have to worry about it.
That's funny. I did see one about the whole MAGA blocking thing, which I did. I definitely clicked. And I'm sorry. I know probably some people listening like, MAGA's just fine with me. Listen, I'm not trying to trash you, but a lot of your people are out of pocket, and I don't have time for it because I'll be arguing for days with them, and it never changes anything. It's just a waste of time. And a lot of them, I saw them even coming back to Twitter like, oh, look at these libs over here. It's like, why are you chasing after
me on Blue Sky?
Right, they dare block me. Like, you
look, guys, you can
got
have
nothing
your
else to do?
quote unquote free speech platform, and we'll go someplace that's less annoying to exist.
Yeah, because sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
And I will say, as a Survivor fan, it seems like most of the Survivor fan base has moved over to Blue Sky. So I like most of the players are over there. I'm having a great time.
It's fine, man. It's perfectly fine. Again, it's more of a classic Twitter. It's missing some
literally
features.
just Twitter.
It really is.
It's literally just Twitter from like 10 years
It
ago.
really is old Twitter. That's really what it is. It's not bad. It's just missing some features.
It's made by the same guy.
It's made by the exact same guy. Yeah,
It's
he
made by the
finessed
guy who
that
made
billions.
Twitter.
He's finessed those billions and then made another Twitter, basically. So
And
I think it's worth it.
They just announced that Blue Sky hit like 20 million users.
Yeah, it's #1 in the App Store and all that. Yeah.
It's finally getting to the point where like big companies are moving to it and advertising on it. Like Xbox just made their official thing, and like Wario 64 and all of them are moving over. Not like exclusively moving over there, but like adding an account there and doing their advertising and stuff.
And some people who are bigger creators and such have flat out left Twitter. Like you have Mark Hamill, you have Stephen King. You know what I mean? They just flat out decided to leave. And I saw why, because if you go to their tweets, people were horrendous to them. Yeah, like why would you want to stay on the site when dealing with that? And I can imagine the DMs they were probably getting. I can only imagine.
Oh my god, yeah.
So anyway, beyond that, as far as what I'll be up to Tuesdays, the Xbox Factor. That's myself, Jamie Moran, hosted by our good brother Boom. Thursdays again with me and Danny here at 8:00 Eastern. Tomorrow is the Infinite Podcast. Myself, Risky for the Biscuits, host. That blue number, Dante Moody, aka Spriggan, and Garuda Intruda. That's tomorrow at 8:00 p.m. So come by and check us out and show us love if you can. what else was there to add? That's really it. Hope you guys had a good time with us. We had a good time. We'll get out of you guys here. You all have a great weekend. Enjoy some gaming or shows or movies or whatever else that you enjoy. We'll talk with you guys later.